got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
And welcome to the 31st episode of Slime Time Sidequest, an official Dragon's Den podcast. This is Plattym3.
And this is Pendy.
And joining us tonight to talk about...
Wait. You're just going into the topic and our guest just like that?
Yeah, just like that. What of it?
Well, that's a bit unusual. I mean, there's typically this page-long intro where you write about some inane topic that the rest of us all roll our eyes about.
I bet the audience does that too. So, whatever. I skipped it this week.
Skipped your chance to sound like a fool when you, quote, misunderstand, end quote, the point of what we're trying to talk about.
There'll be no dumb Platty this week.
So, no one has to pretend to be frustrated with you?
Nope.
No one has to play along while you pretend to be dumb?
Hint, it's not always pretending.
Yeah, don't I know it. Well, this is kind of a refreshing experience. I mean, no lowbrow humor for once.
None.
Wow. Well, I guess our guests and I should consider ourselves lucky tonight.
Lucky indeed.
Damn it, did I just walk right into that one?
Cha-ching! Like a Dragon Quest hero to a casino. You did indeed.
Well played, Platty. Well played.
Indeed. Much like tonight's topic. Tonight, we're going to talk about getting lucky in video games. Whether it's hooking up with Marie in Persona 4 Golden once you hit relationship rank 9, or getting that sweet reward from Peach when you.
Hey, I thought we weren't doing this.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, back on topic.
Okay, let me take this away. Tonight, we're talking about a lot of luck-based side games or gambling content in a bunch of our favorite video games. From card games to casinos, we've luckily got a couple of guests here tonight to help us cover a wide variety of fun content. Joining us for the first time, Llendar, and hopefully joining us later, Metcraft style, will be Yangus, who got called away to a party tonight. Welcome, Llendar.
Hello.
Hey, before we get going to talking our favorite side stuff, let's get a little lucky with Llendar first.
Seriously? Okay.
I had to have something. All right, so Llendar, what are some of your usernames you use around the old internet, Discord or the Den or something? How might people recognize you, or where from?
Well, I go by Llendar. That's Lendar. Or Len, just Len. And if I can't get any of those, because some random person online has been trying to take my username from somewhere, I don't know why, I don't know how. I'm gonna hunt you down. I use Sidane as well.
Okay. Llendar. I think I mispronounced that incorrectly to begin with.
You totally did.
Yeah, I'm infamous on this podcast for doing that, for mispronouncing names. So
it's fine. I had a friend for about 10 years thought I was Llendar for a long time. So
it's like our good friend Eel. Oh no, Evan.
EAL.
EAL.
So how did you first get into Dragon Quest?
Well, I was 4 years old, and Dragon Quest II was around. Well, Dragon Warrior at the time. My pops had it, and I tried to play it. I was really horrible. So I just fought monsters. So I became a pretty much an XP whore or something like that. But then I forgot about the series for a very, very long time. And then Platty's favorite game, Final Fantasy 12. Had a demo in Dragon Quest 8.
Woohoo!
And
oh my god, are you one of those people that actually got it for the demo instead of the game?
At first.
Yes, the marketing worked.
At first. Then I played Dragon Quest 8, went back to 7, and then from there I found amazing communities and stuck with that.
Nice. So playing a bunch of the games, what's the your favorite two? What's your favorite mainline game? What's your favorite spin-off that you've enjoyed?
Mainline, I fight between 7 and 11. And then spin-off, I have a lot of love-hate relationship with Builders 2. Mainly because I recently resold my Switch version because I did not like the frame rate, but I've rebought it for PC and I'm loving it very, very much. Then I also like playing Heroes off and on.
Nice.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I've enjoyed all those. So yeah, I'm glad I don't have to answer that. You just get to ask the questions. Maybe if you go back to episode 1, I probably did answer that, but I wouldn't even be able to tell you what I knew.
It's been not too long ago, but I can tell you.
Uh-oh. What did I say my favorite spinoff was?
I think at the time you said you were going to go back to Monsters. But
yeah, as a whole, yes. I mean, heck, I put 150 hours into Monsters last year with between Joker 3 Pro and the the Dragon Quest Monsters 2 that Z6N4 got out last April 1st. But I could see that.
I mean, yeah, you're a hardcore fan of the Monster series when you actually enjoy Caravan Heart. So yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
So, do you have any favorite monsters or characters from the series?
My favorite monster straight out is a Canabox. I love Canaboxes. Love how they look. I love how mischievous they are. And then my favorite character, people are going to hate me, but I really like Maribel.
Oh, no.
Yes, I like Maribel.
And that's it for Sidequest tonight. We thank you all for listening. It might be one of our shorter episodes. Don't worry, not April Fools. We'll be back next month. That's all right. All are welcome here. That's okay. It's okay.
I suppose.
I'll make it easier. Look at Pendy's version.
I can ask Pendy's opinion of Caravan Heart, and we'd also have a little fight on our hands. So it's okay. We got to just let this all go.
Yes.
So why do you like Maribel? What's up with Maribel?
Well, a lot of people saw her as, just very annoying. I saw her as wanting a friend, but even though she didn't know how to very well talk to people her age. Growing up, she was always trying to appeal to her parents, always trying to appeal very more grown up to show that she can go her own way. And I just liked that idea.
Yeah,
I didn't like how Kiefer ran off on me.
What an abandonment issues. I love Kiefer. Go play Caravan Heart. This all circles back to Caravan Heart. You get more time with them. It's fine.
Okay, I probably will.
Oh, yeah. Everyone talks about that one character in Final Fantasy VII dying and being all sad about that, but I was more upset about Kiefer. Damn it. It was because I was like, I honestly wasn't a big fan of a lot of the characters in 7, and Kiefer was one of my favorites. And then they're like, oh, hey, the one that you actually like, he's gone forever. Oh, you son of a bitch. Okay,
I have a save right there for Eris before she passes away because I grinded to get her last limit break.
Oh no.
I like how Pendy was trying to keep spoiler free for a 25-year-old game, and
it's so old.
Yeah.
True.
You know what's funny is I was just reading, trying to proofread an article for RP Gamer, which I write for, and somebody was writing, even though it's not an RPG, we'll cover RPG adjacent, and someone had played the Persona 4 Golden Ultra Mix and was talking about it, and just casually in the middle of the paragraph, they totally give away the whole end of Persona 4, who the bad guy is, and I was like, whoa, you just dropped that in the middle of a paragraph. I mean, probably nobody's going to be reading this game that hasn't played the main game, but yikes, that was just so casual. I had to laugh. I went back and reread that. I'm like, I'm not going to be the one to tell him to pull it out. It's one of our editors, so he wants to put it in there. Go ahead.
Do it live.
Yep, because go ahead, man. All right, so it's funny you mentioned Canabox. We've had Canabox pop up twice in a row from Pendy, your last appearance on Slime Time Prime.
That's right. We had our Nyani Sore. That was one of her favorite monsters. Yeah. And she was surprised when I said I know other people that it's their favorite type of monster. And there's people out there that love them. And I think that's a big reason why we mentioned how you can find different collectibles that feature that monster, just like the tissue box and all that other stuff.
I swear I hate that tissue box. I have the worst allergies. So
oh yeah, we're all fighting through it here.
Yeah.
I think my youngest son, little Plattym3, he was starting to show signs of allergies a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh man, we need to take him to the doctor because he's never had allergies, and every time he's looked like this, we let it go for a few days, and then we bring him in, and they're like, no, it's an ear infection. Every time, without fail. Like, so we actually brought him in this time, they're like, oh no, those ears are perfectly clean, like, it's allergies. Damn it. The one time we try to get ahead of it, and now, yep, welcome to the family, Plattym3. You're right there with the rest of us. So, back to the questions here, Llendar. What are some of the favorite mechanics you like in Dragon Quest games? What keeps pulling you back to these games? Like, is it monster collecting stuff, job classes, casinos?
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't casinos, you know.
That's true. This is a quite casino-centric episode.
Casinos for number one. I just love the rush of RNGesus. Other than that, job classes, but specifically 6 and 7 style of way, because I like how having class and class level and also job character level separate. It just feels right to me, so I don't feel like I have to throw someone out or go down to a lower area just to grind them back up.
Oh, since you're a big fan of 7. Might as well ask this too, kind of a bonus question. So, do you prefer the original or the remake?
I prefer the original for just the difficulty, but I like the remake just for the quality of life. It's really just back and forth with me, but if it right now, I would say 3DS, but if for probably about a few months ago, I would have said PS1.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. I've got so many good memories from the PS1 that it's hard to be a full 3DS answer there myself too.
So, any games in the Dragon Quest franchise that you haven't gotten around to that you want to?
That I want to? I have played 10 recently with my buddy Xavier. Well, I tried to play with him.
Oh, nice.
I just couldn't get through not being able to read it.
Did you play on PC or Switch?
I played on PC, and the program is just so broken, it just took me out of it. Like how broken translation. And then I tried using my phone, and I'm like, I'm not going to sit here holding WSAD and holding my phone.
I remember Wooda's talk years ago about how I think he played it like when it first came out, kind of, or maybe not when it first came out, but maybe Wii U time or something like that. But he did it with like one of the early versions of Google's like Lens, and he played the whole game like with something like he had it on the TV or his PC, but like then that's how he did 11. Maybe that's how it was 11, not 10 that he did it this way. But because I was like, yeah, wait a minute, 10 would have been a long time ago before Google's auto translate or whatever. But yeah, he had this whole elaborate setup I remember seeing one time, like, holy cow. And yeah, I remember my 2 weeks I think I spent on Dragon Quest X that I was like, okay, if it wasn't pandemic time, if I wasn't staying awake till 2 or 3 a.m., I wouldn't be doing this with my phone and back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah. Ones, though, I haven't gotten around to, though, that I want to make time to play the Mystery Dungeon games really badly, because I watched a few streamers and also listening on here how many people actually really enjoy them. I'm like, I really need to get to them. And I just also need to get the patience with monsters.
You know what? You have to love. I think it's. I love video games that have item creation and alchemy in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I love the Dragon Quest monsters, because more so like Pokemon, you don't blend the monsters. You just grab one and raise it up. Only silly people go EV training and whatever at the daycare, or mixing it with a Ditto and hatching 10,000 eggs to get a shiny or whatever. Meh. Who cares about all that? Like, no, I love the Dragon Quest monsters, and I know I've talked to Austin about it, and he loves the Pokemon way. Like, he gets the Pokemon and he wants to keep the Pokemon, and like he doesn't want to have it. I'm like, nah, man, fuck it. Throw my slime, throw my golem together, and now, whatever. I got a box slime. Bring on the box slime. I'm happy. Like, I'm every couple hours I'll just sit there and synthesize or whatever, breed them. Different games call it different things. Like, I'll just do that for like an hour. Just have so much fun, and next thing you know, I've got like 10 new monsters, and let's go, man. I've got one strong one to get us through because you're back to level 1, just like you said, like Dragon Quest 9 style. Meh.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the later games have basically like metal slime areas that you can access once every few hours or whatever, just like almost to do that. Like when you're ready to do a bunch of breeding, there's a place to go to get them right back up. But no, you've got to like that. You've got to like that alchemy, kind of that mixing aspect to really get into the Monsters franchise.
See, what killed it for me was just because I couldn't find the command system for a bit. I'm like, I don't want to auto battle. I just want to command them.
Yeah, there was a... Gosh, I know in getting back to Caravan Hearts, that's a harder one to just let go of a lot of, because you're collecting a lot of humans in it, and they don't have commands. So, all right, those are the good games, but we were laughing earlier today that I pulled out a question here that I probably haven't asked in 2 years, if I remember correctly. If you had to choose one Dragon Quest game to get the axe and be erased from history, what would it be? What could the world have lived without?
Oh, see, a lot of people hate me. 9.
Ooh. Luckily, Liam Land's not on this podcast.
9. I don't like how I see even with 3, how they do 3 same way with the leveling system. I do not like that class system whatsoever. Just get rid of it.
Hey, guess what? Lucky you, we get a 2D HD coming.
I know.
Sometime
I'm gonna
relatively soon in the next year or 2, 5, 10, whatever.
Myself through that. I gotta get the idea, like, this is not, because they treat it like an offline MMORPG, and I'm like, I don't want to do that unless I actually have that option to play it MMO style. So if you can axe Dragon Quest 9 and hit from history, and then bring it back for Switch and PC in the future or something, and have the leveling system like 6 or 7, I'm full game.
They could do it 7 style, 7 3DS, where they didn't let you get ridiculously OP.
Yeah.
I really like that tweak, how they did that, where it's because that was because I'm kind of the opposite. I prefer the 9 style over the 6 and the 7, because 6 and 7, the OG ones, it just got annoying to me because you get all these jobs and these classes and these abilities and spells, and then I'd be rifling through like 8 pages of abilities, be like, oh my god, how am I just want to get to this one ability, and it's like, oh, okay, 5 minutes later, oh, there it is, now I can do the command. It's it's too much. Yeah.
Did the original Dragon Warrior 7, did it have like the like later games do, where it stays on the spell or the skill you use last?
Oh, the memory option?
Yeah,
I forget if it has
it
that
does.
Okay,
it does on the 3DS.
Okay.
On the 3DS, but I'm wondering if the original
on the
one
PS1, I'd probably not, unless I can
You're
check
probably
right now.
But because that would be the one that needed it more than anything. Because exactly what Pendy said with like you've got 7 pages of spells. Like by the time you've class changed 3 or 4 times, you've built up one hell of a spell list there.
Yeah, and the tweak that they did to the remake of 7, how they did that with the class system, it made monster classes a lot more important, because that was the only classes where you could keep all of those special abilities permanent, whereas a lot of the abilities would go away as you switched from class to class.
And that's why.
Didn't the lower classes? The lower classes stayed, but nothing second tier.
Yeah, and it was never nothing really.
By the middle of the game, the low class stuff wouldn't have mattered anyway. Ooh, I get to cast heal. Yay!
The only sad part is if you want to do that for every single character, you have to do around 70k plus battles.
Yeah. Now, see, I'm not that much of a completionist, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I was for 7, and I went for it, and
for all the monster classes.
All monster classes
for all the people.
All the people. It was a pain.
Wow!
My gosh!
I remember some of your conversations in the Discord. How you said that you are a bit of a completionist when it comes to games. So I see that now. That's a lot.
It's a lot, and it was a pain, and it was a lot of spending overtime on my breaks at my old job. Just sitting there grinding away, like, oh, they're not going to know I'm gone for a little bit extra time.
I get it. Yeah, trying to figure out what I'm going to bring to play on Friday at work.
Hey, I mean, some people have smoke breaks, and some people have Dragon Quest class grinding breaks. You know, it's
Yeah. grab a good tablet and just go.
yeah.
Very true. Speaking of tablets, the last Dragon Quest game I played on my tablet was Caravan Heart.
Oh.
Okay, last Caravan Heart plug of the night.
All those hungry monsters.
Oh, they were so hungry. All right, so the premise tonight, kind of got the idea. We went funny back in February with the not the games we love for Valentine's Day. We went with the games we love to hate. But to turn it back around to more on topic, we got St. Patrick's Day coming up here in the middle of March. So, what else do you associate with St. Patrick's Day other than getting snakes out and, the luck of the Irish?
Aye, laddie.
Aye.
Around
So,
everyone gets drunk.
Yangus and I were chatting back and forth. I'm like, I want to do a Getting Lucky episode. Let's and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "No. Like, I know I joke all the time, but like, no. Let's like the Getting Lucky in the casinos or the whatever different stuff in the different games, side stuff." So unfortunately, I don't know if we mentioned it. Yangus could not to be here tonight. He might be joining. If you hear him later on, he's hopefully Matt Craft style going to slide in with some audio that he'll send to me afterwards. Got invited to a big party tonight last minute, and he's like, no, the show must go on. Get Llendar on, and you guys get going. So my response to that was, hell yeah! Oh, wait. That's
hell yeah!
That's what I just read on the Google sheet. So talking about some things that we get lucky in video games, Llendar, we're going to let you start off tonight as our featured guest. What hell yeah do you want to talk about first?
Well, the game Hell Yeah was actually a very forgotten game for the 360, the Wii, I believe the PS3 and PC, made by Sega, and it's actually a really fun platformer. It's actually quite forgotten. Most people don't even know much about it, but I remember quite a bit.
Here's me raising my hand. I don't know much about it. Yep.
Well, the game premise is that you are the Prince of Hell, which is a rabbit. That's just a dead rabbit named Ash. And he's actually succeeding the throne for his father, the King of Hell. Mm-hmm. And the issue is, before his coronation, a paparazzi photographer was actually going to his house, and outside his bathroom window, he took a picture of Ash in the bathtub with a rubber ducky, which just puts shame to his name. He wants to be the most angry, most vile rabbit of hell. So what does he do? Naturally, he just gets on his unit-wheel motorcycle with a saw blade and just goes to kill out 100 notorious monsters of hell to reclaim his fame for being the biggest badass in hell.
How have I never heard this before?
This Did you say you had or haven't?
No, I haven't. I
have not either. But holy shit, that premise is okay.
It's a very funny game. One of my favorite things is that whenever you fight the notorious monsters, the bosses, you get a quick time event, and they're mostly luck based too. Like there's claw games. There, like for one of them, there's quite a few other ones. Let's see where. Oh yeah, there's this one where it's actually slots, and if you actually get lucky on there, T-Rex comes out and bites the monster's head right off. It is beautiful. It's gory. It's bloody. But I'm here to talk about my favorite level on there. It's the one that made me forget the rest of the game because I just stayed there playing slots. And that is the casino level. And you would think that a hell casino is going to be just blood, gore everywhere. Nah, it's blue skies, crystals everywhere, crystal clear water and fountains, and slots everywhere for $10 saying, waste your money.
See, I would imagine hell would be all those slots. You could never win.
Actually, no. There's a maximum payout of 10,000. When also you just get a lot of nothing. It's actually a short game.
What do you use the money for? Is there like equipment and stuff you can buy?
Oh yeah, because you're on this motorcycle that has guns and rocket launchers, grenades, machine guns, all the works pretty much, and you use the refill your ammo, buy
great.
cosmetics.
Nice.
I just for shits and giggles, I actually turned my Unit motorcycle, the saw blade, into a rubber ducky.
It's what you were trying to avoid.
Well, you know what? I don't care.
Decides to own it. Gonna own it.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a rubber ducky. Come at me.
And I'm going to go kill you with my rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky with the golden revolver to match. Most items in the game are not very expensive, from over like usually $100 to the most expensive things are really not even the cosmetics. It's actually the refill your ammo for your limited ammo items like your grenade launcher. But it's a short game. I highly recommend it if you just want for shits and giggles for like 6 hours. It's a very short game. And there's a lot of
on Steam.
It's on Steam, yes.
Yep.
One of my favorite monsters is actually in the casino. It's a a playing card that makes a fan club of you. And what makes it horrible is that they have a censored like logo, like a little TV sensor in the middle of it to make you guess what the heck's going in the center of it. So I guess it's trying to get lucky with Ash because it's taking pictures and posting them everywhere. Speaking of slots.
Oh man, yeah. So hell yeah, Wrath of the Dead Rabbit. That's what I'm seeing. That's pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
The fact they named him Ash, I'm like, video game Ash. It gives a different connotation than a rabbit in hell.
I know. And actually, whenever I first found out his name was Ash, I'm like, am I gonna have a boomstick? And you get a boomstick, so don't worry.
Groovy.
Speaking of groovy, my next game is Diablo with guns, Borderlands.
Yeah, we'll let you go ahead and do your second one, and then we'll cut over to Pendy after a bit.
Okay.
Bring the Dragon Quest back in, because we always know he does.
Well, I'll go quick with this. Borderlands, a lot of people have played it. I'm certain many of you listeners here have played Borderlands. Probably none of you have in here so far, but it is I'm just going to say, without saying the lore, it's pretty much a complete game of RNG. The guns are you get killing monsters constantly to get your best guns, trying to kill bosses to get your best armor, everything like that. But there's slots, and there's lots of slots. There's slots for your guns. There's slots for your grenades. You could waste your life away at the slots just to try to get in a legendary item in there, because it's only a 0.02% chance to get a legendary item, which that was calculated out of 32,768 tries.
Jeez.
It's like those Alka miracles in 9. I hated that.
Yeah, I never even. I'll be honest. I think I stopped playing 9 before I even knew that was a thing.
I never even knew that was a thing.
For the best. Yeah. It's the very like end game advanced alchemy that you can do to get certain like super items that are out there. It's Alka miracles, and it's got a ridiculously low percentage to actually work, just like you're explaining for Borderlands. So
yeah. One of my favorite things is I like to play this game a lot with my wife. It's a really great cooperative game, and there's times we'll just sit there and waste every bit of our money in the game until we have nothing, and then we're like, okay, we go back to story now. Well, we're just at the slots. It's my wife and I are both gamblers, and we don't know when to stop, and that's the problem. That's why we do it in games and not in real life.
You know what? That's the healthy way to do it. There you go.
yes.
You're not recording from some back alley in Vegas right now. Like, hey man, can I get through my game so I can go back to the slots?
Yeah. It's like I'm not going to go out in the street and start punching people. Well, because A, I would lose. But B, I can play Street Fighter and do it in a more healthy environment. And
there you go.
But yeah, the slots are pretty fun in Borderlands, because also you can do one that's called an Iridium slots, and that's just to boost your character's stats and get more backpack slots to go back out and do more RNG stuff and monsters. So it's just a constant game of gambling and praying for RNG.
So there's slots to like boost stats and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Not just like money?
You get it's called iridium. It's a type of currency which you can go and purchase stat boosting things like more ammo slots, more grenade slots, and stuff like that. So you can just keep firing and throwing grenades.
Nice. I guess that may be better than the stupid guy I keep meeting in Pokemon Arceus. It's like, hey, I can show you how to pack your backpack a little tighter. Pay me 1,000. Pay me 1,000 Pokédollars. I'm like, son of a bitch, really? He's like, oh, I can show you how to pack it even better for 1,500. Oh, I can show you even better for 2,000. I'm like, it's not even expanding. It's like literally the guy's just like, I'll show you better packing techniques.
It's like
it's Marie Kondo. Like,
No.
so I guess in that game, there's not always room in your bag.
There's not always room in the bag. I
Later on,
leave stuff on the ground all the time. Yep.
Later on, they'll teach you how to vacuum seal.
Until then, it just sucks. Ba-dum-bum.
I won't
I was gonna say, for Borderlands, which Borderlands do you recommend that you like to gamble in the most?
Two. Just because the Mad Moxie's bar, that's where you go to gamble in most of the games.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the great music. There's a tip jar there, which whenever you give around $10,000, I believe, if I remember right, to Mad Moxie, she starts pulling out guns out her tits. And
Well, okay then.
And they are all innuendos with the gun names.
Oh, lovely.
Oh yes.
Hey, you like if that's where you're gonna pull them from, then just lean into it. Lean over and then lean into it.
Though in Borderlands 3, one of the cool things in there is whenever you get a really good successful roll for good luck, there is a jingle that's based off of Legend of Zelda. Whenever you get an item from the chest.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's funny you mentioned Zelda. You're talking about pulling stuff out of your tits. One of my son's friends was over one time, and we're playing. Gosh, I want to say it was the original Hyrule Warriors. And of course, my kids were like 6 and 4 at the time. Like whatever, there's fairies, whatever, or I'm playing as Linkle or whatever. And like my son's friend is like, every time she gets a treasure chest, you see her butt. She's like leaning into the treasure chest. You're like, look, there's a butt. So like, of course, for like the next 20 hours of gameplay over the next couple weeks, like that's all my kids could say. Every time we were getting a treasure chest, like, look at her butt. I'm like, oh god. Thank you, friend. Jeez.
You gotta have a reward somehow or another.
Yeah. Get the upskirt for the treasure chest. Oh boy, treasure booty. Gotta get the. Oh, that damn it!
There it is.
I gotta I should edit all that out and just be like, I gotta get the booty. All right. Well, if we're talking about booties, we might as well talk about Pendy. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a horrible transition, but Pendy.
Shaking it right now. You can't see it. But.
Well, what Dragon Quest game do you like to shake it in?
well, I like to shake it in all the Dragon Quest games, but the one I'm going to focus in on is we're going to go back to Dragon Quest VII, and in particular, we're going to talk about Lucky Panel. And Lucky Panel, it's a simple game, and that's why I love it so much. It's, like I said, it's from 7, and when you're on your way to All Trades Abbey, you run into the first casino in the game at Pilgrim's Rest. At least that's what's called in the 3DS version. I'm not sure if it has much of a name in the original. But as far as activities there go, I mean, yeah, there's a book in a bookshelf that's actually a surprise monster trap. That's fun. And yes, there's a bar and there's bunny girls. Sure, there's poker and slot machines to be played there. But the real draw for me is the Lucky Panel game. Like I said, it's super simple to play. It's just a match game where you flip over hidden panels to reveal prizes. So when you first start out, you get to flip over 6 panels, which will stay flipped over. And then you take turns trying to match the rest. Now, if you get one wrong, you can only get so many wrong. So if you get 3 wrong, then you lose and you don't get anything. You got to start over. But if you match them all, you win all the items shown on the board. It's great. So one of the things that you can run into, one of the panels in the board will be a pointing finger that gives you an extra turn. But there's another panel that's like an open hand symbol, and that shuffles all the unflipped panels.
Oh,
And
that one sucks.
yeah, that can give you a hard time sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But the prizes you can win in that game vary from gold and armor, weapons, or even monster hearts, and those are essential for the monster class changing in that game. And casinos in Dragon Quest can be very frustrating sometimes, at least as far as I go when it comes to a lot of the casino games. But this one's nice and easy, and just with a little bit of luck involved. Usually when I play it, I bring I have a little pen and paper to keep track of the board, and that open hand that shuffles the panels can ruin your round. But it's a nice little element that keeps the game exciting. There are 4 different lucky panel games the 4 different locations that have lucky panel games to win prizes. There's, like I said, there's Pilgrim's Rest in the past and in the present. There's Buckingham, the casino there, and then even Haven, where once you've recruited enough citizens for that town, then a casino will appear with lucky panel there as well. And fun fact, Brandon, son of Woodis, developed an app that you can use to keep track of your game. It's pretty cool. I tried it out the other day. I mean, I just gotta say, do you like how I phrased that though? Brandon, son of Woodis, maker of the mighty app.
That was good. I remember when gosh, way back when it was for the PS1 only. It was well before that, so I think he would have probably coded that when he was a young teen.
Yeah, because
like 10 years ago or something. It's quite a while.
Because
I know he's updated it.
Yeah, there's two apps, because I saw that there was the one for Dragon Warrior, which is uses Java, and I'm not sure who programmed that exactly, whether that was him or one of his sons, but he definitely pointed out that
it was his son.
Oh, okay. So probably the same son ended up doing an updated one for the 3DS version as well, I noticed. So that was cool.
Oh, I'm playing on it right now. That's cool. I don't even think I ever saw the updated one.
It's got music in the background. It's nice.
It's got the world map there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually running to Pilgrim's Rest right now as I speak. Just.
Well, yeah. What do you guys think of Lucky Panel?
Oh God, I played the hell out of it. Lindar, I'll let you talk first, and then I'll go in along.
Honestly, I didn't play too much of it. As I mostly grinded for my monster hearts. I also just played a lot of slots for money. So
I see the theme going here with you and the games and the what you're talking about. So yeah, I can see that. Now, I don't know if you know this, Pendy. The Pilgrim's Rest in the present and the past, are they different prizes?
Yes. Yeah, that was the nice thing about it is there's only one version. As far as I saw, there's only one version in Buckingham. And then, of course, Haven just has the one version because Haven is just Haven. Because I don't think there's a past and a present Haven, just the main one. But yeah, there's
past Haven's Stone.
Oh yeah, but
so
yeah,
go ahead.
Pilgrim's Rest, yes, there is different prizes for the past and the present versions of that lucky panel, which is cool because I think I forget which one is which, but one of them has one of the monster hearts as a prize, which is probably one of the better prizes to get in lucky panel, and the other one doesn't. So it's just kind of more minor stuff.
Especially since that's when the class system opens up.
Right, exactly. So because you haven't hit All Trades Abbey yet, so it's not like you could really do anything with a monster heart at that point. I mean, you could save it for later, but I think that's why the later Pilgrim's Rest that you run into has a monster heart as a prize, because by that time you have gotten into the class system. Yeah. Yeah,
because the Pilgrim's Rest is what you stop at when you go to the past right outside of All Trades. Yeah, it's on that island. So wow, you know what? I don't in all this game. I really don't know if it was the same one. So I probably just went there whenever. But that's the one I remember more than anything. Late in the game, Buckingham has it, and Haven is the immigrant town. And in the PS1 version, you had to really do a shitload of work to get the casino town to turn into that. I remember on my PS1, I had my main game, and then I started a second game on a different memory card and played all the way up at least through Haven, the immigrant town, so probably the third or fourth. place just to open up all the places, and then like you could duplicate your save file. And so like I would make sure to try to get like one of every type of immigrant, and then I would duplicate the heck out of that save file. Like, hey, I need 7 merchants, so let me trade 7 of my people from my main game with 7, with each one of my duplicated save second games. Like I spent so much time, so much time on Dragon Quest VII on the original, and I played the hell out of the Lucky panel. I did the first time. I remember just grinding up so much money the first time I played through. I don't think I went for Monster Hearts much, and I don't think I played so much on the second or the third one. But the second time I played the PS1 version was 2008. It was right after I got divorced at that time, and I was just like, well, what do I do when I come home every day? Like, I'm living in my 1-bedroom apartment, and I'm done working at like 3:30 every day. Like, okay, that's a lot of time on my hands. Well, I played the hell out of Dragon Quest VII for a few months before I got it back into the dating game, and I could probably say maybe a quarter's too much, but a good 10 to 20% of my time might have been on Lucky Panel.
Oh, and you mentioned having like multiple save files. That just, for some reason, that reminded me of how Dragon Warrior 7 was on the PlayStation, and how you had like the little save file that, I think for that one, wasn't it like a little blue slime for the Dragon Quest save slot? Because each game had like its own unique little avatar that would have for a save file. So all the Dragon Quest ones had different like Dragon Quest themed avatars, and I think 7 might have had the blue slime, but I'm not sure. But I thought that was really awesome when we got that game on the PlayStation. I was like, oh, I got my little Dragon Quest avatar for the save. This is great.
Yeah, at the time I just had a whole memory card for Chrono Cross, so.
Oh, that game was good. I did enjoy it. I'm one of the few people that really loved the hell out of that after not giving 2 shits about Chrono Trigger.
Let's see, I have all 11 endings on one memory card, so.
Woo, that's some dedication.
It's fun. But Dragon Quest VII wise, I just refreshed myself actually of Lucky Panel, and I remembered why I don't like it. Because I got the shuffle.
You get the shuffle.
And I'm like, yeah.
It got you.
Yeah, right there.
And you're like, oh crap.
I'm like, why am I doing this? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, that's the one thing that kills me, because we're talking about getting lucky and all this stuff, and this is one of the ones I'm going to talk about are like ones that not so much the slots where you just you got to wait to get lucky. Like, I like the ones where you have some agency in it, and definitely Lucky Panel. There, you have agency, because I mean it's either you're testing your memory or testing if you have pen and paper nearby.
See, my last one's going to be pretty good.
And I do remember, I never used Brandon's app because I don't think it was there the first time I played, and I think the second time I played, I was I just like photocopied pages upon pages upon pages of those grids, because I think it was like a 5x4 grid, and I could fit, like 30 of them on a page if I was small enough. And I had like shorthand for all the different things, because there's not always just matching. Pendy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not always matching items, but isn't there some symbols that you match on some?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're all. I think they're all. They're done that way. It's like all symbols. It's all like the symbol of the armor that you might get, or the weapon that you might get, or there's like a little. I think there's a little bag for if you're going to get gold.
Yeah, the item. Yeah,
the gold and stuff like that. The monster heart is monster heart, stuff like that.
There was one of those one place had swords that were way too similar.
Oh yeah, Divine Dagger, and I forgot the other sword.
Yeah, like everything else looks really,
unique,
clear, unique. Yes, but there was one that was a pain in the ass, especially if you're playing PS1 and you're sitting like 10 feet away from your TV, your old CRT 25-inch, and you're like, what the hell? I just matched that. I'm gonna pick that again because that's a match. No, it's still not a match. Wait, no, it is. It is. Those are alike. And then you get really close, and I'm like, son of a bitch, there's like 2 pixels different that you can't tell from 10 feet away.
When you leave that game, only just getting a Moonra bulb, I'm like, oh. My 20 tokens going to a Moonra bulb. I could have got that cheaper.
Oh yeah. Oh, but Yeah, that was one of the few games like on this thing that I don't think I ever had to like save and reset much for. I felt like I could always do well enough on that I got my money's worth because, you know, it might just be some leather armor, but I can go sell that for like 110.
Save scumming. How dare you?
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
no.
we're going to talk about save scumming. We're going to talk about how I got over 350,000 tokens in my next game, which I loaded it up tonight and was like, holy crap, I really had that many. And seeing what the initial bid is, I'm like, how did I do that? So the first one I'm going to talk about is Ni no Kuni. The Wrath of the White Witch version had a card game in the casino called Platoon. And like finding my way back to the casino to when I loaded up the game today to refresh myself, that was fun. Totally forgot that the casino was totally full of undead. It is in a pathway up a mountain, dark area in the game, and you walk in, there's just a casino, and it's full of skeletons and witches and all this kind of stuff, and some humans in there. But I had, when I went to pull it up today, it was like, oh, well, what frickin' save am I going to pull up? Like, I was like, oh, well, look at that one. I got one with save clear data. And I walked into the casino, and they're like, oh! And it did say, it was like, oh, you've never loaded the save with the clear data. Would you like to? There's bonuses, whatever. I walk into the casino, and they throw a party, and instead of a VIP card, since it is an undead casino, I got an RIP card.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's pretty funny. I didn't go into the back room, though. I was like, no. Straight to the Platoon table. So Platoon's a card game that's basically war. It is war, but it is 5 piles versus 5 piles war. And it's funny because, I mean, they use all this, like, war terminology. Your piles of cards end up being units. It tells you how long your campaign has gone if you're winning multiple games in a row. So it's got some little war terminology in there. But basically, you get shuffled 10 cards at the beginning of your turn, and it's just a regular deck of cards, 2 through ace, with jokers. The special, like, 2 all the way up through queen are just worth what it would be in poker or in any like card game, worth 2 points, 3 points. 10 jack and queen are worth 10. The kings are automatic win cards, except aces. They have a bishop's helmet on them, and they're an auto lose card. A bishop card always loses, except if it's played against the king. So it's automatically the worst, except if you play against the best, it becomes bigger. And then there are joker cards, which has like a little witch's hat on it. And if you play that, you and your opponents switch hands. So it's always good to play that on a really crappy hand. So when you throw it against an opponent, hey, you hold my crappy hand. I'll take your good one. So when the game starts, it's an automatic. You have to bet 200 coins or 200 tokens, I believe, is what the money in the casino is. You bet 200, and it goes through the rules a little bit. But basically, you're dealt 10 cards, and you have to put those 10 cards into 5 different stacks any way you want. So you got to at least put 5 cards down, but then the last 5 cards, you can use them to make stacks. Do you want to put 3 queens together and have a stack worth 30 points? Do you just want to throw a 2? You got a random 2. Do you want to throw a 2 on a stack, knowing that you're going to lose that one anyway? Like, what else are you going to do with this 2? Or do you want to take the 2 and pair it with a king? So someone's like, oh, look at that stack is not that good, but hey, it's got a king in it. It's an auto winner. Once you have put all your stacks together, it asks you to pick a winner. And it's like, okay, so like a little kind of side bet into the game, like which hand do you think is going to actually win? And I'm not 100% chance, or not 100% sure if you can only pick your hand or the opponent's too. I think you could actually bet on the opponent's, if I'm not mistaken.
You could.
Do you remember? You could?
You can.
Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, so without seeing any cards, just like looking at the sizes of the piles, be like, why does my opponent have 1 card in that stack? Could it be a king? Maybe I'll just bet on him to win that one. And then it goes. It like flips a coin, or you get shuffled cards to see who goes first, and you pick one of your 5 stacks, and then you pick which opponent stack do you want to go against. You actually get to choose the hand that you play against. The cards get flipped over. Most of the time it's just, hey, who's got the higher total wins? But that's where the aces being bishop, being an auto loser, the kings being the auto winner, and jokers making you flip cards come into it. And it just comes down to, who wins. There's 5 decks against 5 decks. Who wins the most? Who has the most each time? It's simple because it's just who got higher numbers. And there's a total of, 3 cards that have anything to do. You play a king, you're probably going to win unless you accidentally miss against an ace. And then the joker, well, you can't really plan for that. It just flips your hands around. I loved it because it brought back Dragon Quest IV vibes with the good old poker table where you could let it ride double or nothing, because this definitely lets you do double or nothing. Loaded up tonight, I had 350,000 tokens, and I know I spent a good amount of tokens on gold familiars, the gold forms of the monsters that you're collecting in that game, which had some pretty decent stats and also look cool because they were all gold. But I spent a lot of money on that to find that I had 350,000 left, and this is all from 200 token bets. 200 token bets, and then you make a side bet. So, now it's up to like 300, and then, oh, hey, guess what? You won the hand, so now you have 600. Do you want to put that forward into your campaign? And then, that 600 could become 900, double to 18, and, it stops you after a while, which I did find out at one point was like, no, I can't let it ride anymore. But I played hours of this. I played this game for review for RP Gamer like 2.5 years ago when it first came to Switch. And my gosh, I probably could have gotten my review out a week or two earlier if I had not played so much Platoon. And I definitely save scummed because, I'd let it ride for a while, especially at the beginning when you only had 200 tokens. I mean, the good part is you don't have to save scum very much after it, because if you win like 3 hands, suddenly you're up to like 10,000 tokens. You do that, and I mean, you could lose 10 times in a row and not even lose very much. But I always loved coming up with the strategy, trying to outthink the computer, because, I'd stick a king with a 2. And that way, that hand doesn't look super strong, being just 2 cards tall instead of like a pile of 3 or 4. But, computer says, hey, I got 4 cards. I'm going to flip them over, and I'm going to put it against your stack of 2. Well, screw you, computer. I got a king there. So, or just, piling an ace with a bunch of little cards. Like, if I got like 3 2s, I'm like, son of a bitch, why do I have 3 2s? Putting 3 2s together with an ace, and then, getting that lucky win against a king. That they thought they were putting their king down. Yeah, they thought they were putting their king down against a stack of 4 cards. Like, screw you, I'm going to take out your 40-pound stack with my king. Nope. That point was that thing is worthless, but it's got an ace, so haha. So I don't know what it was. It was I think it's just the simplicity of it. It's just war. It's 5 versus 5 war.
Yeah, it's just a bigger war.
Yep. It's a bigger war.
With extra rules.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't like a ton of extra rules. It's literally 3 cards that you got to remember. Yep.
Yeah, I have 91 hours into Ni no Kuni. 10 of those is probably Blackjack and Platoon.
Nice. And see, normally Blackjack would be like, if a real casino, I walk in, I'm playing Blackjack. But this was
the moneymaker in the game.
Yep.
Just because of the double or nothing. I mean, you could do double or nothing in Blackjack, but the Blackjack, it felt like it was cheating constantly. After a certain amount of times, though, double or nothing, you just like lose it all like in one swoop. I'm like, damn it.
Well, yeah, and see, Blackjack, there's a little bit of strategy, but like this, you could really, like, I swear, like in my addled brain after playing the computer too much, like I would start to like see patterns in how they put their cards, and
single card. It's either
it's an ace or a king, like
ace or king.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? I would just get to a point where I'm like, okay, this is just going to be a turn-based tactical RPG inside of in a card game format. I just liked how you could bet against yourself, though. I like to bet against myself, just like, am I going to screw this?
Well, yeah, because you could bet, like, okay, I know I'm putting my ace, which is an automatic loser, here. I'm going to bet on that pile of the opponents, and then on your turn, if you were, lucky enough to go first, or, when it became your turn second, if those piles weren't gone, cool, I'm going to put my ace against their stack, knowing that I'm going to lose.
Oh. Okay.
Because yeah, you could bet on their hand to win before you flip anything over, and like I said, on your turn, like the way it goes back and forth. Once you determine turn order, you decide which stacks you want to put against which stacks. So yeah, if you know you've got a losing stack, you might as well bet on one of the other stacks, like bet on your opponent, and then make sure to lose to him.
It's one of those games when you explain it to someone, it's like, what? But then you play it with them, like, this is simple.
Yeah. I hadn't played it probably in 2.5 years, and I played it 30 minutes today, and I won the first 3 in a row and was like, holy crap, man, I'm letting it ride. I'm in like the 10,000s here. No wonder I have 350,000. Then I lost.
Yeah, this whole betting on yourself and whether you're going to win or lose, and reminds me of a Trivial Pursuit game that I have, but it has a twist where you can actually it involves like tokens that you bet with, and when it comes down to someone answering a question to get like a pie chip, like you would bet whether they would get the answer wrong or right, and you could get chips that way, and that was kind of involved in how the game was played. It was interesting that way, kind of a gambling aspect that they added to the normal Trivial Pursuit, which is usually just answers and questions and pie pieces in your little wheel.
Okay, I'm going to humble brag right here because I haven't had a chance to even mention this in like 10 years. I got in a really competitive mood with a guy I worked with many years ago. And when I say about 15 years back, we were talking one day, and like, we're both smart people. We're like, you know what? I don't know how it even came up. Like, I wonder if we could get into Mensa. So for no other reason other than it came up at lunch one day, we went and took an entrance to get into Mensa. And we both got in. We went to one meeting at a library and thought, whoa, these people are a little bit, this is a little too weird for us. Maybe we're smart people, but that's not really our jam. But like at their one meeting, they were talking about having a game day on a Saturday, and we're like, you know what? It's 10 minutes up the road. Let's go play board games with them. We went and played the original stinking Trivial Pursuit, which, gosh, those questions are. Well, those are hard.
Some of them can be.
And I won.
Oh, that's awesome.
I like in a group of like 6 Mensa people. and I think my buddy John may have helped by influencing what their final question was. He picked history, and I was like, God. But then again, those questions are ridiculous. But I got it right. I was like, oh my God. We never went to another Mensa thing, never mentioned it again. We tried to get our boss to like pay for our membership just so we could put it on our resume. And she's like, I'm not paying for that. I was like, it look nice for the school. She's like, no, it wouldn't. Yes. Yeah, it would. Why not? We're a private elementary school. You want your kids taught by Mensa teachers? Come on, man.
Yes.
Yes, you should want it. But so yes, should I say like my 2 weeks in Mensa? I won Trivial Pursuit. That was it. But no, that sounds fun. And I don't think I've ever played Trivial Pursuit since, because the original game is it's a little old at this time. Yeah,
they have some fun variations on the game. It can be interesting.
I can't play Trivial Pursuit Harry Potter version with a friend of mine because she'll just stomp my wife and I with the most obscure questions in the world.
And see, I think my wife's got a couple versions, and looking at the ones, I'm like, I would never win those. Just they've stayed boxed up for 10 years. All right, Pendy, why don't I let you go again with your second game? I'm sure it's Dragon Quest again, but that's okay.
It is, and I'll be focusing in on a certain casino. I mean, with this one, now here's a casino. Oh, there's my Chris Collinsworth coming out. Now here's a guy.
There's a $20 million a year comment.
But yeah, so here's a fun casino in Dragon Quest that's also a plot point in the game. So be warned, minor Dragon Quest XI spoilers ahead, because this is the casino in Dragon Quest XI. I'm not going to go like really in depth. I'm going to keep it really vague, so it's very minor spoilers. But just in case someone wants to be careful, there will be some. But at a certain point in the game,
Act 2.
Specifically, Act 2. Yes. And so, in Act 2, at a certain point in the game, you have to go visit the town of Octagonia, which would be your second time. And the first time you go there, the town is centered around fighting tournaments. And now that monsters in Act 2, when you go to visit again, monsters have taken taken it over, and it's kind of been it has been reformatted into a casino instead of having a fighting tournaments. And look at this. It has mystery prizes, and all but one of the prizes is not shown. It's all question marks with the various different amount of tokens that you have to get these mystery prizes. I mean, and what could these prizes be, eh? Well, when I got to this point in the game, I went to the slot machines, and wow, win after win, jackpot after jackpot. Metal mode jackpots. You get a jackpot. You get a jackpot. You get a jackpot. It became very apparent very quickly that something wasn't quite right here. And the mystery prizes: cypress stick, medicinal herb, boxer shorts. Oh, and of course, everyone's favorite item from the series: horse manure.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Stuff's the shit.
So it certainly
I'll
is.
use the Dragon Balls for boxer shorts now.
So with this scenario, with this casino, the cake is a lie. The casino is just an evil monster ruse, and after you free a fellow party member and the town, you actually lose all the tokens that you have accumulated from this casino. But, hey, you do get to keep that horse manure if you got it, so there's that. or as it used to be called, the gum pod.
The gum pod. Oh,
that's got to be the horse manure that gets handed over later.
Oh yeah, that's great. One of the best scenes in the game. But after it turns into a real casino with real prizes, I did still enjoy it. And there's a fairly effective method with the roulette wheel involving a certain bunny girl that will tell you she's got a good feeling about someone getting the jackpot.
And the number 12, right? 12?
12
or 14?
I think both.
13.
You bet on
13.
two numbers.
See, it's right in there. It's in the low teens.
Yeah.
Search up a guide. Don't trust us.
You bet on two numbers when she says that she's feeling someone's going to get lucky, and usually within a few tries you can get it. It doesn't take too long to get. I've seen some people where it does still involve RNG, but eventually you're going to get it pretty quickly. But in general, I mean, just gambling in Dragon Quest has a long history to it. I mean, it started with the Tombola game in 2, then there was betting on monster fights in 3, and then straight up traditional casino games such as slot machines and poker tables in 4. Other various games have showed up too, like you had Slime Racing in 5, and that even got its own physical board game counterpart that they sold in Japan. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Oh yeah,
I have. Yeah.
And where traditional casino games show up in Dragon Quest games, my personal strategy when it comes to that is that usually I build up tokens first by playing some poker, doing that double or nothing for a little bit. And then once I kind of build up what I have, then I usually go for broke with the more expensive slot machines until I win big. That's usually how I get the better items in those traditional casinos in those games. Oh, and I have to add this as well because I'm on Dragon Questers on Facebook all the time, right? And so we get new people in that haven't played the game yet, and they get to that point in the game. They get to the Monster Casino, and then they start. They a lot of these people will brag about it on the group, and they'll post pictures and like, "Oh, look at me! I'm winning all these tokens, and I got this metal mode jackpot, and this is the best thing ever. And oh my god, I'm so lucky." And we're just like, okay, it's like I want to go in and say something, but I was like, I'm gonna let you
got to
get
get
out on your own.
The whole horse manure experience.
Yes. I'm not trying not to spoil it from them and be like, oh, just keep going, man. You'll see.
I was one of them on the release. I was one of those people.
But yeah, we see that every once in a while, and it's so funny. It's like, oh my god, it's the Monster Casino is the best ever, and we're like, just keep going, see what happens. It's great. Yeah, we know, it's good. Have fun.
I mean, if you want Gambler's High and not know the prizes, keep going.
Oh yeah, and you get in the millions.
But what about all of you? Any favorite games or strategies that you like to use with Dragon Quest casinos?
Go ahead, Llendar.
I actually just hand the controller to my wife.
That is the strategy.
Because she loves playing slots, and if there's slots in a game, it's gonna keep going forever. And if there's poker, because I don't know how to play poker, but she grew up playing poker, and so the earlier casino with poker, she would just sit there and play that forever. but safe scumming's my jam.
Yeah.
So
I would have to say save scumming is number one method. But then pretty much Pendy, I'm like you. Like I like poker because it's more interactive. But I feel like if I'm going for 50,000, 100,000 freaking coins to get like, the metal slime armor or whatever, liquid metal armor, I'm not going to get that from poker. I need to hit those huge slot wins. So, the poker's for fun. Maybe get some lower prizes, but basically it's just it's the grind to get enough that you can go to the 100 coin slots and be able to do it 10 or 20 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you lose everything and save scum after.
Yeah, it's just so I don't have to save scum as much. It's just so because I know I can usually build up like a decent pot with the poker game, and then I have enough that I can do a decent amount of time on the slots that I can eventually get lucky. And I may have to start over a few times. With the pot that I can build with poker, usually I'm good to go after that.
See, I would just I would save scum in the early game for 11. But later game, I would actually just play slots until I had enough tokens to transfer over to get some really good berry items for, I don't know if I can spoil that, but to force in pep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then the end game, I would just constantly do that till I can use those to craft them into better pep items.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'd use them for.
Well, I'm going to take this straight into my second topic because it goes right along with what you're asking. Like, what do you like to do in the Dragon Quest casinos? And I liked it in 11 as well, but I liked for the first time, Dragon Quest 8 had the roulette. That was the first game that had roulette, and I think it's only 8 and 10 that have 8 and 11 that have had roulette.
Because it's in Pick'em, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got the big slime, king slime, or
oh no, that's bingo.
Oh, I'm thinking of bingo. Okay,
you're thinking of bingo. No,
I'm getting that confused with bingo. Okay, I forgot there was roulette in 8 as well.
See, yeah, that's where I made the money, was on the roulette. And you were talking about it in 11. That lady's like, "Oh, I'm feeling lucky."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in 8, I did it was almost a little bit reversed. Like, yeah, I did bingo a little bit at the beginning because it's fun, but it's so slow.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It's in Pick'em, so it's in the first one. So you're not exactly getting thousands and thousands of coins here. Getting to the second one, Baccarat, right?
Yeah.
Is that where it is?
Yeah.
So in that casino, I would almost do the slots to build up enough money so that, I think it was something like, if you could get around 60,000 or maybe 6,500 or whatever, you could start. There was a method, and somebody posted the method. There's a whole game FAQ thing about it, but even before that method, I would kind of do it too. I would go and I'd like, listen, I bet it's going to be a number like 1 through 12, and let me just go all in on like the number 7, and I'd put a whole stack of numbers on 7, and like the ones between 6 and 7, and the one between like 7 and 9, and the one between. I would just surround it because you can put it on multiple at once, and I would just go all in on that. And usually, a third of the time or 2/3 of the time, it's not even close. But if you put enough down, about a third of the time, you're making some good money. And save scum galore, and like just take like one hit. If you can get that right number, or at least one of the numbers adjacent, where you've got stacks of 1,000 coins and you're getting like 24-1 odds, and like you've got 3 of them on that. Oh man, that was just the best. I did the whole rubber band trick with the slot machines on the PS2 version. I think we all might have, back in the PS2 days, there was a way to lean that, because if you just kept pressing up on the slot machines, it would keep throwing more coins in, but it would also, once you hit the max number, it would spin the wheel. So you could walk away. You could like go watch TV for 45 minutes, come back. Oh, do I have nothing or not? But even that, I did not find as fast as like just playing the roulette. And then, of course, back in 11, they bring back roulette, and there's, the whole trick of betting on like 12, 13, 14, and waiting for the going in and out of the casino, waiting for that lady to feel lucky. So no, roulette quickly became an 8, and then continuing at 11 became like one of my favorite things to do, like actively being able to do it every time and not just sit there and wait and watch in the casinos, but like, I just love Dragon Quest Roulette. Any y'all play the roulette, or we know Llendar, he's over at the slots.
I'm a slots, but yeah, roulette actually just like overwhelms me because there's so much you can just put bet on, and then like from just not just the numbers, but red or black, and then the in betweens or the quad corners. I'm like
evens or odds.
Evens, and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed here. I'm just gonna put a single thing on every single thing. Let's see what happens.
The house is winning then.
I know. But that's just how I went with roulette for the longest time until I find exploits online.
Yeah, I definitely did the roulette in 11. And if I go to like an actual casino in real life, I do like to probably split my time between slot machines, blackjack, and doing roulette. And with roulette in real life, I'm usually just doing the simple like 50-50 or the 1/3 bets, like where I'm doing black or red, or betting on odds or evens or whatever. So yeah.
I had a friend who was always, he's like, I'm playing the odds. He goes, I'll go stand at roulette until like 3 whites in a row or 3 reds in a row get picked, and then I'll like put down $50 on black. And I was like, you do realize that like it's not cumulative, like the luck, like it's still a 50-50 shot.
Well, it does trick your mind into thinking that, though, because I think the same thing. Yep. I'm like, there's been like 5 reds in a row, time to go black. It can't help it.
And then once you go black, I mean, you never go back. It's red. But yeah, like I had a friend swore up and down by that. I remember his 21st birthday. He would go on, and he, the nicest guy, but like the nerdiest little guy or whatever. And I remember we bowled together for a long time. And for his 21st birthday, he went out to Vegas and came back, and we were bowling in like an adult league, because I had just turned like 18, he had just turned 21, and my dad and a couple of his friends, and one of my dad's like really loudmouth friends comes up, slaps this guy who's like 85 pounds probably on his 21st birthday, dripping wet, like, I hear you get lucky in Vegas. And he's like, oh yeah, well, I was playing the slots or playing the roulette, and I just kept waiting. He's going, and like my dad's friend just keeps patting him on the back, like, oh, you got real lucky, right? Like real lucky with the ladies in Vegas. And he's like, oh no, it's just on the roulette wheel. Like he did not get what my dad's friend was trying to imply, but getting lucky in the casinos, that's what we're talking about tonight.
Oh yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Yangus, the Legendary Bandit. I couldn't join the normal podcast recording time, so these are the games that I'm going to talk about for our new episode that we just did, for the Getting Lucky episode. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and start talking about it. First off, I chose the Blade card game from the Trails of Cold Steel games. So at different points in the game, you'll have these opportunities to play a card game that's popular in the land of Erebonia, and I'm going to assume the Trails series as a whole. I don't really remember it being mentioned in other games of the series, but if I had to guess, it's probably in them. Anyway, there's a card game you can play that's called Blade, and the first time you encounter it is when you're on one of the train rides to one of the places that you're going to in the first game. And as you just go along in the game, there's different opportunities to play it, mainly during like these little chapter intervals, and you actually have a fun moment at the end of the game where you actually can participate in a Blade card tournament, so that's pretty fun. Anyway, Blade is a card game that kind of functions like, or rather the deck of cards itself acts like a normal deck of cards. You have your numbers like 1 through 10. You have a few specific ones, like there's a sword, there's the lightning strike, there's the mirror. The lightning sword will like get rid of your opponent's highest numbered card on their side. There is the mirror shield card, or I think it's just called the mirror card actually. Anyway, if you play that card, it will actually reverse any effects that your opponent tries to use on you. And basically the goal of the game is to have the most points by the end of it. You gain the points by making these combo attacks with your cards. Basically the numbers add up together. They then will hit your opponent, deal damage, or quote unquote deal damage to it. It's not like the RPG rules. Anyway, point is that you just want to have the most points by your card matches by the end of the game, and if your opponent uses like the sword or the mirror card, they can swap things around. Like if they use the sword card, for example, it can remove your points for that particular turn, so you'll end up with a lower score. But if you use the mirror card, you can block that, and it'll actually do the same thing to your opponent, and they'll lose their point total from that round instead. So it's kind of a game of sort of guessing what your opponent's going to try and do, as well as trying to get the most points as possible. So it's just kind of up in the air depending on luck of the draw, and if you can outsmart the CPU. At the end of the game, like I said, there is a tournament that you can participate in like the big festival in the first game. And funny enough, the champion that you come across is a character who you've actually been running across in some different cutscenes. He's an NPC. I don't want to spoil it because honestly, it is pretty funny who it turns out the champion is. But I'll just say that she's a very helpful character. Someone who you come across, and she has a connection with Alyssa. That should probably spell it out pretty quick who it is just by saying that if you've played Trails of Cold Steel 1 or if you're playing it right now. But yeah, Blade is a fun card game, and it's actually appeared in some other, excuse me, it's appeared in some other Falcom games too. I believe it's in Tokyo Xanadu, and if I remember right, there actually is a physical version that you could have gotten with the PS4 version of Tokyo Xanadu, and I think it's also by itself, but I'm not 100% sure on that last part. But yeah, Blade's a fun card game. If you get a chance to play Cold Steel, it's fun just to mess around with it and just, kind of spend some time doing that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is the auction house from Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy IX. So in both of those games, there are two different cities you will go to. Both of them, or excuse me, one of them is more of an aristocratic town. I forget the name of it, unfortunately, in Final Fantasy VI. But in Final Fantasy IX, the town that you go to is sort of one that's split pretty evenly amongst like the wealthy and the poor. I forget. I'm terrible with names for the towns in the Final Fantasy series, unless it's very specific ones. So I'm afraid I do not remember at the time of recording this what they're called. But both of these towns in Final Fantasy VI and IX feature an auction house you can go to, and in both of said auction houses, as the name implies, you're going to trying to bid for the item up for auction. Now, in Final Fantasy VI, it was just a single item at a time. So you would go in. You would talk to the NPC. It's like, oh, please take your seats. We're going to be beginning the auction soon. You take your seat, and they would come up with whatever item. In Final Fantasy IX's case, it would actually show off, right when you go into the auction house, that there are 4 items up for bid. Usually the items are either going to be like a really good accessory item for you. Sometimes there are some one-off specialty items. There's a few gag items too, which that mainly pertains to Final Fantasy VI more than 9. But every time you go in there, there's going to be a different thing up for grabs. So in Final Fantasy VI's case, like I said, you have some accessories you can get. In the Game Boy Advance version of the game, there's actually a brand new item, a brand new weapon you can get called the Excalibur. And if you are a Final Fantasy veteran and you hear the name Excalibur, you're probably going to know right away who that is attached to, character-wise. Especially if you played Final Fantasy V. And if you're like me, you played the Game Boy Advance versions, all back-to-back as they came out. As soon as you saw that in Final Fantasy VI, you're like, oh, I know who that is for. But anyway, Final Fantasy VI is kind of funny, too, because with its auction house, as I said earlier, there's some gag items that you'll find. Usually it's something like, oh, it's a scale model of an airship. There is like a robotic chocobo. There is a walking, talking imp doll, which imps are just like these little Kappa-looking monsters from Japanese folklore, but they just call them imps just to shorthand it. Anyway, there's always in the auction house going to be a dad and his son. And apparently this dad is just like filthy stinking rich, because every time one of these gag items shows up, and they can show up multiple times, which makes it kind of annoying to do the auction house in FF6 every now and then, because you have to sit through that. It's always funny with Final Fantasy VI's case, because whenever those gag items show up, the dad will just start bidding. The kid's like, come on, Dad, I really want that. Please, please, Dad, I want that. And the dad will just be like, like 10 million gil. Like, he'll just throw out like a crazy number. I think it's always the same for the items, but like it just gets worse and worse as the game goes on. Because like when you get to the second half of the game and the World of Ruin part of things, some new of the gag items show up. And even though the world is in just like this terrible crisis with what's going on, the dad just has so much money to blow, and it's like, man, we need him on our side. We can just get a bunch of money and get all of the items we need, no problem. But anyway, you can get some good stuff from it. There's some magicite you can get from the Final Fantasy VI one. A lot of the accessories you can get are pretty helpful too. In the second half of the game, like I was just talking about a bit ago with the Rich Dad, there are some new accessories and items that pop up as well. So it's good to revisit it at different points of the game, because especially if you have some extra money, because you can get some items or accessory items, extras of certain ones that only maybe appear once. You can get an extra one of them for... It might cost you a little bit, but, sometimes with the accessories, especially in Final Fantasy VI's case, they're really good to have. With Final Fantasy IX, with Final Fantasy IX, like I said before, the auction house is going to be one of those things you go into, and when you go into it, they tell you all 4 items at once. Usually the items are just going to be, again, just some accessories, some good defensive armor, stuff like that. But there also are some specialty items, which, unlike Final Fantasy VI's case, these specialty items are going to act as a key item. 2 of the items are actually named after Une and Doga from Final Fantasy III, and if you collect both of those, you can actually use them together at a later point in the game to do just kind of a fun little extra cutscene and a little shout-out song to Final Fantasy III. With the way the auction house in 9 works, if there's an item that you don't want, you are going to have to just sit and wait and let it get past before it goes on to the next one. But once an item comes up, all you got to do is then to just push the X button to help place your bids, and you'll be able to start trying to get the item you're looking for. The nice thing about Final Fantasy IX's case, Final Fantasy VI's, I think all of the items have sort of a guaranteed price that they're going to end up at if you want to try and get the item. So I think if you can plan ahead, you'll know what you want. But with Final Fantasy IX's case, it acts a bit more like an actual auction where people will give off different prices. Things are not going to be set in stone, but you're going to have to pay for it. You have to kind of pay attention to the crowd, see what they're bidding, and then see if it's worth it or not. And then if it's a price you're willing to pay, then you want to try and go for it, or you just keep placing your own bid and see if you can get it. The nice thing is with Final Fantasy IX's case, if there is an item that goes up for bid and you just, you either just are short on the money that they're asking for, or you're just like, I want to get that, but I don't want to do this right now. You can leave the auction house either before that item's bid is over or before it comes up for auction. You can leave the auction house and then, come back and you'll be able to have another chance at it. So, thankfully, it's a lot nicer than Final Fantasy VI's, where even if you don't want the item, Final Fantasy VI, you still have to sit there and wait for it. Whereas with Final Fantasy IX, you can just choose to leave if you want to. There's still a luck of the draw for what's going to pop up and, what the price is going to be. But I prefer how Final Fantasy IX handled it, is the shorthand of all this. And I think the auction house is a fun idea. I don't know if it's in any of the other games past 9, like it could be in one of the MMOs, like 11 or 14. I'm not 100% sure. But I think the auction house idea is kind of fun, and I kind of wish more RPGs did that too, because I think that's a fun idea for just a way to get some other accessories or get some special items, or in Final Fantasy IX's case, you got the special key items you can obtain. But yeah, that's a fun little side activity you can do. All right. For my last part that I'm going to talk about, I wasn't really sure what to talk about for a third one. I was kind of struggling to think up of another topic for this particular episode, and even picking up my first 2 was like, oh boy, I don't really know. But I finally figured out what I'm going to talk about for my third one, and it's actually from 2 different games, both of the same series, and it just came to me the other day when I was watching a video on YouTube. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that perfectly qualifies for luck and a little bit of skill, and that is Grunty's Furnace Fun and Tower of Tragedy from Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. So when you play Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, both of them are from the N64. They're platformers. You go around collecting all this stuff. You finally get to the ending portions. You're getting ready to go confront Gruntilda, the Wicked Witch, who in the first game kidnaps Banjo's sister Tootie, and in the second one she's trying to suck the life out of the island, or the Isle of Hags, that Banjo and all the other characters call home. Kind of weird that they all live on an island that happen to be called the Isle of Hags, but hey, there you go. It's video game logic, don't think about it too much. But yeah, so at the end of both the adventures, Banjo and Kazooie, they're raring to go. They're ready to go fight the witch. They'll get past the last obstacle that's in their way. They get done with all the worlds and everything. They get to the last area where they're 100% sure that's where Grunty is. They then go through, in the first game's case, they step on a big portal. Kind of looks like the little ones that they've been using throughout the game. And in the second one's case, they're starting to enter in this giant tower that Gruntilda and her sisters are hiding out in. And when you enter both of them, all of a sudden you're greeted with these very catchy show tune game show themes. And you see that Gruntilda is now standing behind a pedestal in both of them, holding a bunch of cards in her hand, or having a sheet of information that she's looking off of. And you then realize that now you're in the middle of a giant game, middle of a game show. In the first game's case, Grunty's Furnace Fun, it's a giant board that you have to get your way across, with different icons representing different sort of questions you're going to have to answer. So if you see, like, for example, you see the Banjo-Kazooie face squares, you'll step on that. Grunty will ask you just sort of a general knowledge question from the game. You step on one with a musical note on it. She will then ask you to identify where a song comes from or where a musical cue comes from, like what a little item jingle, like what item or what jingle does this item play for? Or one of my favorite ones is she'll be like, one of my favorite ones she will do is, which character has this dumb voice? So they'll play you a voice clip of the character with their little like grunts, like the that sort of thing. But if she ever gets to her voice, she'll instead say, which character has this cool voice? It's kind of funny. Just how she's the only one who supposedly has the cool sounding voice. But yeah, so you have different questions like that you have to answer, and you'll work your way across the board. There's a few different paths you can go down to, and where the biggest factor of luck comes in, besides, you know, what sort of, or what the exact questions will be, it'll come down to two squares in particular, the Joker square or the Skull square. So the Joker square, or I think it's called the Jester square, I'm not really 100% sure, I don't remember. Anyway, it looks like Banjo wearing like a Jester's hat, but it has a little like J symbol on it, so I think it's supposed to represent the Joker card, like the Joker is wild. Anyway, the Joker card square will give you a chance to answer a question. You only get one shot at the question. It's going to be just a completely random one from the rest of the categories, so you don't know going in what kind of question it's going to be. If you get the question right, you do end up obtaining these two freebie cards, which if you get to a square where you do not want to answer a question, you can push, I believe it's either the B button or the Z button, and it will let you skip that square entirely. If you do that, though, it will use one of your cards. There's a few different Joker cards, or excuse me, Joker squares on the board. So you do have a chance to obtain, I think it's either about 10 or 12 of the free pass things total, but you kind of have to go out of your way for it. But they're really helpful if you come across, you know, a square that you do not, you know, want to answer a question on, or more importantly, if you do not want to take a chance on the skull squares, which are the other squares on the board that you absolutely want to watch out for. So as the name implies, they have a big picture of a skull on them. They have a red background, and as soon as you step on one, Gruntilda even tells you the first time. She will tell you, you only get one shot at the question. If you get it right, you're fine. But if you miss the question, you end up instantly losing a life, and you have to start the board all over. So it's very much one of those kind of squares that's very high risk, low reward, instead of being high risk, high reward like the Jester square. And what's even worse, and it's a real just bastard move on Rare's part, which is par for the course for them. The very last square before you can actually get to Gruntilda and beat the board in the first game is going to be a skull square. So hopefully you either saved up a Joker Jester card to use on that last square, or you just feel real lucky, because if you miss that last question, you're going to start all over, and there's nothing you can do about it. Supposedly there is, oh gosh, what am I thinking? Oh no, sorry, that's for the next one. Anyway, so yeah, the Grunty's Furnace Fun thing, that was definitely, like, the first time I played the game, that really threw me off, because I'm just like, what? We're playing a game show? What's going on? It was a good surprise from Rare about that one, because then it's like, oh man, you got to answer all these questions from the game. And apparently everyone else liked that idea enough, because they actually brought that back for Banjo-Tooie. This time with the Tower of Tragedy quiz show. So unlike the Grunty's Furnace Fun game, Tower of Tragedy acts more like a typical game show. Sort of like how you have, what am I thinking of? Jeopardy. It's kind of like Jeopardy, where Gruntilda will give you the answers and you have to answer the question, she will give you the question, you just have to answer it. So a little bit like Jeopardy, I suppose. Like it depending on how quickly you answer the question, you'll earn a different amount of points. You will play the game against her two sisters who helped revive her after she died in the first game, and you have to go through 3 different rounds of it in the main game itself. The questions are just completely random. Sometimes there's a visual question she will ask you, but unlike the first game where you have different boards, it's now different board paths and different squares you can go on to sort of choose your question. Now instead, it's just Gruntilda asking you random questions from her cards that she has with her. So you could end up with some easy ones, you could end up with some hard ones, you get some visual cues, some musical ones, just kind of depends. You go through 3 rounds of that, and then the third round of the game, you have to get at least 15 points in order to move on and beat the quiz game, and then you move on to the actual final battle. It's really funny too with the second game's case, because when you do beat the third round, Gruntilda was just like, Well, I kind of expected you guys to lose at some point, so I really don't know what to do at this point now that you've won. Like, what should we go for? And Kazooie just gives her the idea, and it's just like, well, maybe you should just run off in a cowardly fashion like you did in the first game. Then all of a sudden, Gretel's like, oh, that's a good idea. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'll see you guys later. Luckily, I put in this rocket pack, or not, oh God, what she says. What is it she says? She says, luckily I put this emergency escape button in my podium here. I'll see you losers at the top of the tower. She pushes it. The whole podium stage thing that she's standing on flies away and flies off to the roof. It's pretty funny, actually. And just because it's so funny that the heroes and villains are just like, well, we don't really know what we're supposed to do now. What are we supposed to do? Oh, I know. You should just run away and then we can go fight like we did in the first game. Oh, sure, great. That's a good idea. Thank you. So it's a funny way to end off the second quiz show of the game. They have had some other quiz shows in the other Banjo releases, like I know in the Game Boy Advance game, Grunty's Revenge, there is another quiz game in there as well. I think Nuts and Bolts on the Xbox 360 did one as well. I unfortunately don't know for that one because I never beat it. It's a long story on that one. Anyway, I've always remembered doing the Grunty's Furnace Fun game and the Tower of Tragedy quiz show game. Both of them being just kind of a fun, what the heck is this sort of ending for the game before you get to the final battle. And it's fun to see, how you can test your knowledge of the game. Because with the luck of the draw of the questions, you could end up with some that you can answer pretty easy, or it's just, you could be like, oh, I don't know. And in the first game's case, it's especially dangerous, since if you do that on a skull square and you miss, you gotta start the whole thing over. But yeah, those are my 3 entries for our lucky things in games. Hope you guys enjoyed listening, and I will hopefully see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.
And Llendar, your final one that you wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Vegas,
yeah,
I have Fallout New Vegas. It's actually a current addiction of mine right now. Between Dragon Quest, Oblivion, and Fallout, those are my default games. If I'm not playing one of those, I'm gonna go crazy in a week. Fallout New Vegas, with the title and name, there's going to be lots of moments of getting lucky. From slots, blackjack, roulette, setting up your own brothel on what? Yeah, you can set up your own brothel. But my favorite game on there is actually another format of war. It's called Caravan. Not Caravan Hearts, but you can use all heart cards if you want to. But you don't have to feed anyone. Don't worry.
Oh, well, there you go.
Thank God. No food mechanic. I hate that so much. so much. Sorry.
There's also Monster Arena in there. You can just bet on Fallout-ridden, nuclear-ridden monsters to fight each other and see who wins. Anything you want to. Just live a little, gamble your hearts out, throw all your caps at everything. Trust me, it's going to be fun. No matter what way you go in the wasteland. But back to Caravan Hearts. It's a very, not really Caravan Hearts, but Caravan. Dragon Quest fan, you might say Caravan's going to have hearts in the end of it. Caravan is actually a card game that was developed by the Wasteland. Because in the nuclear fallout, you're not going to find cards all together very well. So you can put any amount of cards you want to in a 30-card deck, and each player has a 30-card deck. What you have is 3 lanes, and with those 3 lanes, you want to try to get in between 21 and 26. You don't want to get any higher than that with your cards. The kings, queens, jacks, they go pretty much by poker rules for the most part. And then what you want to do is you want to ruin your opponent's caravans by getting them over 26 or lower than 21. You want to get rid of their cards the best way you can while keeping yours available up to 26, and then you want to quote unquote sell your caravan. The first person to sell at least 2 of them, or whoever runs out of cards. If you run out of cards, you lose. It's quite a fun game because not only do you have to find the cards throughout the game by buying them one by one through merchants, it's just a very fun game to play because you just play with random people in the world and NPCs. And there's betting involved. So always one fun way to find a way to get lucky. Any questions about it or anything?
I'm looking online. There's the website called caravanthegame.com.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's the same.
You probably could find it if you said Fallout New Vegas Caravan.
It's what I put in there, and there is a card game. Somebody developed I don't know the rules.
Someone probably made it.
No, it's not. Caravan's a one-on-one card deck played with 2 standard decks of cards, including 2 joke. Yeah.
Oh, this you put up your own deck. You actually build your own deck. You don't even have to have standard cards at all times. So you can have multiple of 7s, 9s, kings, queens. The works. Because you're just finding cards and put them together. I have the rules for like jacks and kings and queens. Like if you played jack against an ace, it's a 2 or 10. It removes that card along with the face cards attached to it. So it just removes it. So if you put a jack on your opponent, it removes those cards and makes their caravan cost less. Yeah, so you want to try to make them not have enough cost on their caravans, and you want to make yours at least under 26 and more than 21. For a bit for me, it was complicated, but after my 5th game, I got the hang of it, and it was actually quite fun, and I am going around everywhere to find out who actually plays Caravan in the game.
Oh, that was me with my my last one, definitely.
I'm not very far in the last one. I'm not very far, but I have 40 hours out in the game, and I just passed the Sand Town.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to end with Pendy's then in a bit, but we'll go into what I was going to talk about because it's another card game. It's like you said, you can walk around. NPCs, anybody in the game, not anybody, but tons of people in the game are playing it. And you mentioned earlier you were playing Bravely Default 2, and it was right around this time last year that Bravely Default 2 came out. Because I remember playing it over spring break on vacation, and there's a card game in there called B&D. Because, hey, Bravely Default. There's B&D, but it stands for Bind and Divide is the game. It's a card game played on a 5x5 grid. Each person has 6 cards. The cards all have either a job class on them. You'll see one of the characters in the job class. You'll have monsters on them, and the monsters all have like family type, aquatic, humanoid type. Like there's an ogre on there holding a big, kind of like Dragon Quest. He's got a big old club. There you go. Couldn't think of the word. He's humanoid in shape, or aquatic, or other different ones. Or there could be just plain out people from the game. Like certain characters will have their own card. And basically the monster cards are a little bit like Othello. You're trying to, I guess that would be the bind part of it, maybe. Like you're trying to get 2 cards placed on opposite ends of opponents' cards. And you do that with these monster cards. They have like a little green area light up. They all have different patterns to the cards, I guess would be the good way to say it. Where they have one main square that you put the card on. But then they all have between 1 and I think you can get up to 4 other squares that they can take over. Now, whatever square you put it on has to be free on the board, but the other squares don't have to be. The other squares, they're a little bit light in color, and they are, like I said, you take those areas over, conquer the zones. So if you can get your little light colored areas to cover opponents' areas, it looks like an eraser. It just erases their color from the board. Like they lose those squares. If those squares are blank, you instantly take them over too. So like you could play a monster card from the very beginning that's got like 1 main square and then 4 little squares around it in certain pattern, and boom, right off the bat you're up 5-0. And the point is get as cover as many squares or cover more squares than your opponent. And the monster cards are just part of it. That's the main part. But there's so much strategy in the other cards. Pretty much the people or the jobs all have field effects. I was quickly just playing last night, half dozen hands to see some of the field effects that you can have. My favorite one, and one I went the whole game with, was every time that you steal a spot, you get an extra one as well. So I'd always put this card in the bottom left corner. I'd get a spot. 2 hands later, if I stole one of the opponent's areas, sure, I'd steal their spot, but I'd also get a bonus spot. And I don't know why the opponents never took that over. Like, if they would have covered that up, it would have killed my field effect. But there's tons of field effects. There's ones that can strengthen specific types. I was playing last night. One was like, hey, one of the opponents played a card, and any humanoid type card, it would randomly add another piece to their pattern so that those cards would take over more zones each time. I want to say that NPC had all humanoid cards, so to best use that effect on. They had poison ones. Every time somebody plays, a random card gets poisoned, and after like 2 turns, the poison card would just disappear. So randomly, we were losing spots all over the place, which freaking wrecked strategy sometimes. Some of these cards would place field effects that could be erased if you could cover up their card, and then some didn't. Some made a rule almost for the rest of the game. And the game's only 6 cards each, 12 turns long. It's basically like Cards Othello. I played a little bit of the Final Fantasy IX card game, and I mean, you get yeah. It's kind of a little bit that, but
that's just all RNG though.
Yeah. Because it's kind of that Othello type. You're trying to surround stuff, but in this one, you could just flat out just erase people's stuff. I always loved in this game going second, so that I could just whatever the opponent did, they'd put one down that's power up all humanoid, and I'm like, actually, I'm going to take my little bird thing here and erase your card that had that field effect. So field effect gone. Good job. Good thing you played that first. And total number of squares wins. You get points based on how many points you scored, not by how much you win by, actually. If you won 13-12 or something like that, because there's that, you'd actually get your 13 points. There's all these multipliers at the end because there's different ranks. So you get points for how many squares you have at the end. There's a multiplier for the opponent's rank. I was battling some C, B, and then A ranked people yesterday. And for C, all the ranks were, I think it was it multiplied my points by 1.2. B was 1.6. And A rank battles were doubling my amount of points. The points are used to actually buy cards. Every NPC, when you beat them, you can buy their deck from them. Or 1 card at a time or 2 cards at a time, depending on how many points you have built up. And of course, better cards cost a lot more money. You can only have 1 of each card. So sometimes you'll come across NPCs and you'll beat them, and really you can only buy 3 cards from them because the other 3 cards are copies of ones you already have. I love how the game kept track of your record versus each opponent. Last night I was walking up to people and oh dang, I already beat this guy 5 times. I should win this today. And after I did a couple battles with them to remind me, I was I'm going to go to the last city that I barely played any in the game, because I was trying to finish it up quickly at the end and got in a couple rank A battles. Seeing that they were people I'd never played before, I was cool. And what I didn't encounter yesterday, and I know that it's there are different NPCs that play with certain rule sets, and the rule sets take it and do pretty cool. I think one of my favorite rule sets that I played with in the past was where the borders don't end. Normally, if you've got a card that has, you'll take your main square plus the two squares to the right of you. Well, if you play your main square on the rightmost corner of the 5x5 grid, the other 2 just fall off the board because they're over to the right. But there's a rule set that basically turns it into a JRPG map where, if you go too far north, you end up south. And if you go too far east, you end up west. So it basically loops the game board. So if you're putting stuff on the far right, anything that goes righter than right ends up on the left side. One of the rule sets that a lot of the NPCs would play with is no keepsies. No keepsies means that if you lose, the opponents can't steal your cards. Because, you can buy the cards from the other players, although NPCs get to... They always have theirs. It's not like you can wipe one out. You could buy all 6 of their cards, but they still have a deck to play with. But they can take your cards. If you lose, you can lose cards to NPCs in the game. but a lot of the lower ranked ones always play with the no keepsies rule set on. Which,
No keepsies, no backsies.
That's right. No keepsies actually lowers your point total. It's a 0.8 multiplier, so you lose 20% of your points if you're playing that way. Nothing gained, nothing earned. So I did realize I got my rank last night, and like I had something like 789 points or whatever, and that was total across the entire game that I played, and I played 62 games of B&D, scored 700 points. To get to the next rank is like another 700 points. I was like, oh my god, you got to play this like 100 plus times just to get that far. I did end up my record last night. I wrote it down at the end. I was like, oh cool, because it has my total record. I had 48 wins, 12 losses, and 2 ties. I'm actually surprised the ties is so low. But yeah, I played this game 62 times. And each time it takes a good 3 to 5 minutes. So yeah, I definitely spent quite a few hours on it. I remember when I was first playing it, it was around the time that I was talking to Z6N4 a lot because he was getting that Dragon Quest Monsters 2 ready for release, and he was hooked on B&D. He's like, I just want to keep playing this game, not go through Bravely Default. I'm like, nope, dude, I totally get you.
I get you.
So how are you doing with it, Llendar?
I only went through the first town, and I didn't go very. I made sure I beat everyone to the maximum I could to get all their cards. And then I played with rule sets. The one with the wraparound map. That was actually very fun.
Yes, I love that.
But it took out my strategy of getting every corner first. But
yeah, well, yeah, like it's an Othello type game, so yeah, getting the corners is important.
Oh yes, but I loved it whenever someone would put something in a corner and I would just take out their card right there. I'm like, yes, I played you. But yeah,
I don't. That's one thing I think the AI doesn't do is take out your cards enough.
No, that doesn't.
No.
But dang.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Wrap around opponents.
I would always get the corners, and then I just got demolished. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna lose a card. Like, oh wait, I get no keepsies. So
yeah.
At least whenever you set rule sets, you can make it so it doesn't screw you over if you're trying new things. Which I do like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of customization there, and different NPCs will play with different decks and play with different rule sets. So it really, and some of those field effects like totally change every game.
It makes the game a whole new game each time if you get a different field effect. And so you're always on your toes. So I would always go in with no keepsies and see what someone else would do differently with their cards, learn their card, and then build my deck around against them. It would
because you can change your deck every time you play.
Yeah, which I like, and I like how limited the cards are too, because that way you can't be like, this card's a really good card, I'm gonna just constantly double up on it.
Yeah, because you can only have one of each.
And then the whole entire some cards boosting other types of cards, like the early on you get one that boosts like insectoid cards. And I would constantly use that with this worm card, where it would have just one. It would have one square on one portion, but offset like four tiles away from it, another one. I'm like, that looks like a perfect card just to pocket a corner.
Oh, nice. I don't think I had any that were that far away.
I'm probably just misremembering, but it could be 2, 4.
I mean,
it's an early
there's
set
one
card.
I have that goes, let's see, 1, and then like the diagonal, and the one next to that, and then another diagonal. So it goes across like 4 columns, but kind of like diagonally up, and that's always fun to do. So heck, I mean, that's only one away from what you're talking about, having the corners.
It's very helpful, and I just like how I can just play that and just forget the rest of the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. it definitely could be. Yeah, there's at least, 3-4 NPCs in every town. And
that's cool.
Oh, I was going to say, you've only played a couple towns, but yeah. Like, even last night, like, I put 60 hours into this game. So by the end, I was like, okay, I'm done. So I guess I don't think I B&D'd in the last town at all, but I warped there last night, or took a caravan there. I had to remember how to fast travel in the game. I'm like, how do I get there again? Where am I? It's been a year. Took a caravan to the final town on the list, and walking around, I noticed, like, wow, there's like 7 NPCs here that have side quests. I was over by the end. I was like, let's go, come on. But then, yeah, there were all these B&D players that were all rank A, and I had fun. I went to each one of them, and at least 3, and beat all those. I was like, man, I still got it. 1 year later.
That's another thing about me. I don't use fast travel in most games.
Oh, man.
I don't, but...
No Zoom?
I use Zoom. The Dragon Quest is like one of the few games I do. And another one would be MMORPGs, because it's a must.
Well, those are huge, yeah. There's not a whole lot of towns in Bravely Default 2. And really, once you knock one out and you do all the B&D and you do all the side quests, there's not a whole... I mean, the story reasons will take you back maybe once, but there's not a whole lot of reasons. I mean, kind of like a lot of Dragon Quest towns, you know.
Yeah.
You finish this town, it's time to go to the next. How many times do you really need to go back there?
Yeah, it's funny how certain games will have side games in them where you become like more obsessed with the side game than like the actual game.
Oh, definitely.
I was like that with Blitzball and Final Fantasy X. I was like,
oh, yes.
Yep.
Is there a world to save or something? No, I don't think so. It's Blitzball time. Let's go. I'm doing this entire season. Let's go. This is all I'm interested in right now. Yeah,
I'll be honest. I want to say Blitzball. I finally was able to put it down when I was 50 and 0. I was like, and that might have. I think it was maybe one reset, but I never found that game super hard.
It's not, especially once you get Brother and Waka.
Yeah, once you get certain people, and it becomes kind of a cakewalk. But it was just so fun to me. I love the mechanic of how that game worked. So I was Blitzball all the time.
I wish you could bet in that game.
There you go. Throw
Put some money on me.
I mean, if I talk about 10-2, there's a bonus game in there where you actually have to use math to with RNG to win. What was it? One of the dress spheres. Lady Luck dress sphere. It's all gambling on that one too.
Nice.
Oh, what's interesting about the B&D, it actually like plays a role in the game in one of the early towns. It's like not only is it like, oh hey, it's here if you want to, but it has a role with a character and a kind of gameplay thing in a town. So
ooh, similar to like Final Fantasy IX later on, where you
get
have
good.
To do the tournament.
Get good.
Okay, I'll get good.
Is it has to do? You don't have to tell me. Well, this is more of a general thing, but does it have to do with getting one of the classes? Because I know like Bravely Default's about getting all those classes.
Everything's about getting the classes.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the game. That's what gets me keeping that game is those classes.
And I'll tell you what, you know what? Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Definitely that my 48-12 record would have been less if not for, or would have been better if not for that.
Gotcha.
Class. Or maybe that was there might have been some resets there. It was too early for me to have been that good. But all right, so I just talked about B&D. Pendy, you've got a game with an N in the middle too.
I do have a game that involves an acronym. So my last Dragon Quest game of chance that I'd like to talk about is Pachisi, or depending on what translation you are dealing with, TNT boards. So, and TNT meaning treasures and trapdoors. So it's basically a big life-size board game that your lead party member participates in. You throw dice and you move along squares in a board and you try and make it to the end. But along the way, there's treasure, traps, monster fights, and all sorts of various hazards. You hit the wrong trapdoor and you might have to start all over again. Sometimes you have ones that are multiple levels where you'll fall down to another level. But yeah, once you fall down from that bottom level, you're done. Yeah. But beware, you only have as many attempts as tickets you collect throughout the game, unless you get that free unlimited pass, or sometimes, depending on what game you're in, called the gold pass. And what's also unique about this game is that it only appears in Dragon Quest remakes of 3 and 5. I just hadn't really thought about that until I started writing about this game. I was like, oh yeah, it's not in any original Dragon Quest games, at least as far as the main line goes. It's just in the remakes of those two games. Of course, the only exception being the mobile and the Switch version of 3, which are kind of unfortunately inferior versions when it comes to the remakes. But yeah, there's what's funny about this game is that there's an interesting glitch that I read about the TNT board and the Game Boy Color remake of 3 in the town of Cole. Because apparently, if you hit a panel that makes your strength stat go down, and I don't know if it's specifically strength stat, maybe it's any stat that hazard that makes one of your stats go down, and you have a fight afterwards, you just jackpot on experience. You'll get so much experience that you just go right to level 99, and it's ridiculous. I haven't run into that myself, but I've read many people that have run into this glitch. But some of the rewards can be interesting too. I love how, like in Dragon Quest V, you can win a character named Starkers, and that's a post-game Monster Party member who's kind of like a mini version of S-Stark, and who is actually supposed to be his son. And then there's also Rebajorn, who's like a mini reincarnation of the massive Bajorn boss monster that you fight. And you find this after you win the last post-game TNT board as well. So what do you guys think about TNT boards?
Well, fun fact for a second here. Those little guys are two of the starters you could get in Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 3 Professional.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All of it. Yeah. That game was made to give you a little boost at the beginning, because it was released, 1 year after the original in Japan.
Yeah.
So they made it quick to fast forward through, and they gave you a rank monster at the beginning, and it was like little Bjorn, it was little Starkers.
Yeah, I love
the other good ones.
And I love the character design on those those two. Well, especially Rebajorn. It's Rebjorn. It's, if you look at the character art for
Bjorn
him,
again,
he's got a little snot coming down from his little nose, and it's just a little mini version of Bjorn. It's funny.
Yep. Oh, I loved these games. I absolutely loved them. I remember playing them on. I never played actually 3 Super NES, but I did play the hell out of it on Game Boy Color. So played it on that, and my gosh, I think the most I remember playing it on, at least back in the day, was back when they started doing the DS remakes, because I was playing the DS remake of 4 the day it came out in Japan, because it had English baked into it. Someone found that out like the day it came out, did a little trigger, put it online, and I was playing the ROM of Dragon Quest IV the day it was out in Japan, like on my little hacked what I have, like a little this R6 or G6 card for my Nintendo DS Lite back in the day. That was a blast playing 4. But 5, 6, maybe not that many, 5, 6, but like a year later when the 5 came out, didn't have the English hard baked into it. But I played all the way through in Japanese, knowing it would take a whole freaking year to come out. I played it in Japanese because of those TNT boards. I was like, oh my God, it has TNT boards. And I played the hell out of it. I didn't understand a damn thing. I'm sure I lost strength and agility and whatever on some of those freaking ones. Because, this was like 2007, 2008, 2006 maybe when it came out. There was no auto-translate back then. But yeah, I'd be going around those boards and like, oh shit, something just happened. It was probably bad because the bad music played.
and those boards in 5, they got pretty
the post-game ones were long.
Yeah, there's like a lot of multiple levels to them, and all sorts of,
because they'd all have
different ways you could go.
Yep, and they had turn counts. Like you had to beat it in a certain number of turns.
Yeah,
and you have to land on the ending exactly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you have to land on the square. Yep. Yeah, exactly. You couldn't go over. What is it? There's another board game that does that too. I can't remember, but yeah, it does that thing where you got land exactly on that square.
I play games like this with my kids, so like Sorry or Parcheesi.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah,
you got to have that exact roll. Now, all those were great, but modern day, the best TNT boards, bar none, they're in Theater Rhythm. Dragon Quest. One of the modes of Theater Rhythm has just TNT boards, and I've not reached the end. I think I've gone through like 15 TNT boards, and there's still more. Like every time you unlock one, or every time you beat one, like 2 more unlock or something like that, or you can only see 2 ahead. And like I've beat the first 15, and there's a couple more at least. And what's great about them is 1, it's TNT. But 2, like the battles are like the musical stuff. Like sometimes you'll just land on a field square, and the field square means, well, you got to do a Theater Rhythm game. And so whatever you do it and get points. And I just felt like it was the easiest way to boost your points, because the way you quote unquote win Theater Rhythm is getting, I think it's 10,000 or 20,000 points, once you've reached a certain point total, suddenly like a boss battle pops up with the Dragon Lord, and you'll get credits. Now, of course, like every other Dragon Quest game, you can just keep going forever afterwards, and there's tons more stuff to unlock. But with all the music pretty much there from the beginning, you can do all of 1 through 9, 10. I think it's got some songs from 10 in it. Yeah. And I spent 10 hours, 12 hours beating the game to get up to that, and probably half of that, if not more, was on the TNT boards. Those were just so much fun. And at least nowadays I could hold up my phone and be like, oh, that's what just happened to me.
Now,
getting sent back to start.
Could you get items out of those boards too? Because I remember playing the Final Fantasy version of this game, and there were certain accessories or something that you could get you could equip to your characters. I think. I don't know if the
characters
get that too.
The Dragon Quest game. Your characters who you choose to bring with you get experience points. And
okay.
You get them up to higher levels because you're actually fighting.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, this is always so easy. I never lose battles to anybody. And then I tried cranking up the difficulty at one point with somebody that was at a lower level, or I think there's even revocation in there. And I tried it and oh crap, nope. I actually can lose. I can do perfect melody and lose.
I know life rhythm games, so I just jumped into hard mode on those games, both Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. I actually, since I can't read Japanese, I sat there looking through the menus for the longest time, so I didn't even know that was existing in there. So I've never played it on Dragon Quest V. I've never played Parcheesi in there at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pretty soon because I've been going through the PS2 version. So nice. I am actually hyped now to try it out, just hearing out what it's all about. I keep hearing TNT boards. I'm like, where is this at?
Yeah, because they have them in the PS2 remake as well, so you'll be able to do those.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I'm like, oh yes, I gotta try it out now.
Yeah, I am so grateful that a team of people went and did a translation patch for that game because we missed out on that one.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dwayne.
Exactly. Thanks, Dwayne. and the team that put that together, because I was hoping we were gonna get that one. That was during the Dragon Quest VIII PS2 era. It's we'll get. We got screwed over on.
Yeah, why not?
Why didn't we?
Because we got screwed over on 4, but there's a whole story behind that, and there was technical, logistical things that happened that wasn't out of their control. But there's nothing going on with that with the PlayStation or the PlayStation 2 remake, as far as I know. So I don't know why we never got that.
Came out after 8, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Because that didn't use. Yeah. I forget what engine it used, but yeah, I think it did came out afterwards. But and 8 sold pretty damn well. It was even a PlayStation Greatest Hits thing. So there was we were on the up and up with the Dragon Quest in the West. But I don't know. I'm being bitter old man about that one.
We should be bitter. Trust me, let's just be bitter.
Oh, let's just be bitter. I'll throw away my optimistic side for a minute on Dragon Quest. Me and Plattym were having a little debate about Dragon Quest and how it gets treated over here, and I try to be optimistic these days, and he can be a little salty about some stuff that goes on. But I've been pretty salty.
My "It's not coming" stamp.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been salty during some of the Dark Ages too. It gets bad sometimes. So
let me just pull out my Sandland screenshot.
But we have the translation patch now, at least, so that's people can go and enjoy that version of the game, which the graphics for it are spectacular. It's a level above the DS version for sure. So it's fun if you ever want to check that out.
I will definitely will.
All right, but yeah. If you can figure out where it is in the this is probably no help whatsoever, but I feel like it's an option to the right. Just envisioning playing the game last year.
Right mode. I'll just click right everywhere.
I swear there's only 3 game modes, and you might have to go far enough to unlock it, but isn't free play the one default on the left, the one in the middle, or is it so free play is default middle? What's the one where you have to beat the Dragon Quest 1 first song to get to the next song, and you have to beat Dragon Quest 1 song to open up Dragon Quest 2?
I know that that's story mode pretty much.
That's the story mode. So there's that. There's a mode where you can just play any of them at any time. It's more just a list. But then the third mode is the Parcheesi TNT boards.
Okay. Yeah, the free play mode, you unlock that for the story mode, and then because the free play mode, you only have just the battles themes until you do that.
Correct. Yeah. So maybe I'm sure there's some unlocking to get that. I'm sure Pachisi was not open at the beginning, but the second it did, I was like, oh my god, this is what I'm doing. And like I beat the first one, and then there was 2 and 3, and I was like, oh, and I beat 2, and then suddenly there was 4. I'm like, I haven't even done 3 yet. This is awesome. Like it keeps going. So like I said, I beat 15. There's a 16 and a 17 there, and I just I can't remember. I swear Yangus, and he'll yell at me for saying that he didn't say that. Somewhere he said something about 50,000 points. And I played for like 8 or 9 hours, and I'm like at 9,000 points or something like that. I'm like, oh my god, this is taking forever. Because like doing a song may get you like 100 to 200 points or something like that. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to beat like 50 songs to get just to 10,000, and that's like, holy crap, like 250 songs. And then I started doing the Pachisi, and it started coming faster. Now, did it take longer? Perhaps, but you know, it wasn't like I was just doing rhythm the whole time. It was like I was rolling the dice. I was getting double points. I was getting this, and you know, every now and then there'd be some extra. I'd have to do the rhythm stuff, but as much as I love the rhythm, like I didn't need to sit there and tap all day for 9 hours straight.
Yeah, it gave you some variety.
Yeah, like that was the battle encounters in the Pachisi board that, you know, invariably you land on. And just like in the games, you had to have tickets, and my god, I had so many tickets. Like you'd land on things in the game, in the board, to give you more tickets. I don't know if that happened in 3 and 5.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I always remember it. Like, talk about save scumming. Like, you had to do that in those games because, yeah, your TNT tickets were limited, valuable.
Yeah, I got pretty. Speaking of our theme of being lucky tonight, I got pretty lucky with those. Like, I never had. I don't remember ever being in a situation in 3 or 5 where I didn't have enough tickets to be able to beat a board before I could move on and then collect more tickets for the next new board that would come along later. I don't remember ever having that problem. Like, again, it might have been just like pure luck on my part, but thankfully I was able to get just enough tickets that it was never a problem for me that way.
We were raised on mini metal searching. We found all the tickets.
Oh yeah. Check all those drawers. Check all those chests. Check all that. Check those bookshelves. Check those pots. Check those barrels. The wells. I could go on and on and on. But yeah, you
the bags hanging on the wall in Dragon Warrior 7.
Oh yeah, those are great too.
I was telling my wife. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, like, because you do those in 8 too, where you even got the little animation where he kind of sticks his hand in, he's kind of rummaging around. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I was telling my wife that if we ever go to Japan, I want to go to Dragon Quest Island just to find mini medals.
Yeah, I get to do that there. That's like part of the fun of the whole island.
That's what I would want to do.
Oh, nice.
I hope that's a main theme in Dragon Quest Treasures.
Oh.
Like, what would be the best treasure in the world is mini medals. Like,
just a whole chest full of mini medals.
Yeah. Gotta think they have that.
They better. They better.
See, and here's where we start getting into our, like, that game's never coming out.
Don't break my heart more, because then I'm really gonna pull out my Sandland, say PlayStation 7 and Dragon Quest 13.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm guessing, and a lot of us. I'm not the only one that's made this guess that I forget. Was it Yangus that first came out with the prediction that it's probably going to be next year, which will be the 35th anniversary of 3, that will probably get Dragon Quest 3, the 2D HD game, because it'll coincide with that anniversary. But as far as treasures go, it might be a while before we get that one. I think with their development hell that they went through in the first place when it was originally supposed to be a Monsters game plus COVID stuff, it's probably going to be a while, unfortunately. But well, I'm looking at it eventually, or it will morph into yet another game. It'll be like, no, we got to start over in another genre. That'd be hilarious. It'd be sad.
You know, we're getting close. We're like 2 months away from the 35th anniversary announcement of all those games. And have we seen anything in the West? No.
Yeah, that's
We're
the
still in
one
a Kashi.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say that. Like, now I'll have to do the math on it later, but when did that first come out in Japan? Because if you remember,
Kashi?
Yeah, because with
it's
TAC,
at least a couple months now.
Well, see, that's okay then, because now it's weird that we haven't got any kind of further announcement. But between the global and the Japanese version of TAC, it's like 6 months. about 6 months in between, like when the Japanese version came out and the global version came out. But the fact that we haven't seen, for Dragon Quest Tact.
What game did we get the simultaneous release on?
That was Die.
Oh, okay, that's right.
The Die game. Yeah, because Tact came out first, and Die we got the simultaneous release. But for some reason, Keshi they didn't want to do that. Because I remember during that announcement thing that they did with Yuji Horii, like there were certain games where they said, yeah, we're going to try and do a simultaneous release for these games. And they said that for Treasures, and they said that for 2D HD. They want to do like a global simultaneous release, but they didn't say that with Keshi. So for some reason they want to wait on that one. And right after the big ceremony that they did with Yuji Horii, and they talked about it, the official Dragon Quest Twitter and Facebook page said, yes, we are going to get Keshi, but just like silence after that. Like we haven't heard anything. So this is kind of weird. So hopefully we'll hear something soon. I don't know. Let's see.
Here's an announcement about 6 games, and here we are a year later, and you have none of them.
Like I haven't even seen a pre sign up for Keshi yet either.
No. They haven't. There's been nothing because that's what we'll get first is like with Tact and Stars and Die. We had the whole like pre-registration, and then they had beta testing, and then that later down the line, that's when it released. But
which has been great because with RP Gamer, nobody wants to play a mobile game. None of the hardcore RP gamers, and I'm always like, oh, wait, can we get in on the beta of the Dragon Quest games or the Die games? And they're always like, yes, go right ahead. Like I did the beta of the Tact game, and there was I remember I played it for a week, and I was like, I really was dying. I was like, I should contact Austin over at DQFM because I'm like, I bet he's in this too. But I made my username like Plattym3. I'm like, it's pretty obvious. And there was all of like 13 people on the leaderboard the whole week I played, and probably 7 or 8 of the people on the leaderboard were like developers. It was obvious because they had like in the billions of points, and I'm like, yay, I passed 1,000. And I mean, they were also like total strings of numbers. So I'm like, okay, these are like must be like developer tools that they're trying to figure out. And I'm like, okay, so there's 5 of us in this beta. Or 5 of us who got review codes at least, because it was even before the beta. But yeah, and then I did the Die game before, or I got into that one that was supposed to be Canada only.
Oh, I remember that.
At least. Yeah, that one at least there were more people in it. But I got to play that beforehand and write about it.
And everyone, it was so funny because I remember the people who got the beta for whether it was like Tact or Stars or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh, do you think we'll be able to keep all our stuff in like no, because they want to make it even for everybody when the game starts."
Exactly. Yeah.
They're not going to let you keep anything. Sorry.
And again, it's a beta. Like that's all just deleted.
Right. But I mean, usually they give you like some kind of bonus or something. At least I think Stars did, where it gave you like maybe some gems or gold or something, just a like a little thank you. I think at least some of them did for being a beta tester. But like as far as like actually getting like equipment and gear or monsters depending on the game, they're like, no, it's just testing. Sorry.
I got Die pins for being part of the beta.
Oh, there you go.
They mailed them to me months and months later. My editor's like, oh, they want your address. And I was like, oh, isn't that game out? I think a lot of people got those, though. I think they were giving them away as prizes later, too.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, I should have got out of that then.
But, yeah, so, I mean, hopefully I'll get to test out Keshi. Or, like, that one I'm actually interested in. I'm like, I love Match 3.
I do, too.
Like, that Die, I'm not interested in continually running. Although I will say, like, when I played it, I was like, I actually think people will like this gameplay. Like, it to me, it was more, well, then again, I'm not a strategy player, so I liked it more than Tact. Although Tact had the whole Dragon Quest Monsters, collect monsters thing going for it, so... You know, right there, that put it way above Dragon Quest of the Stars in my mind. But like, I was auto battling definitely 2 hours into that beta. I think I played 6 or 7 hours to get through the entire beta thing, and honestly, 4 or 5 of it was all on auto battle. Like some people are gonna like this.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
No, collect monsters, not trousers.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, if you're collecting trousers, I guess you are getting lucky.
Oh, there you go. That's a good line. Maybe that's the line that we should wrap this up tonight. So There you go. Collect trousers, get lucky, and we'll end with that. So that's it for this episode of Slime Time Sidequest. Thank you, Llendar. I was gonna totally say it wrong, and I'm like, no. I'm not going to make a Pendy mistake. Yep. Thank you, Llendar, for joining us to talk about getting lucky, and hopefully we have some Yangus audio in there, stuck in the middle for us.
Yes, thanks for joining us, Llendar.
Thank you.
And in a transition, probably y'all can see coming a mile away. Pendy, I think it's time to talk about one more lucky thing about our podcast.
I think I know where this is going.
But of course. See, one thing we luckily never do here at Slime Time is solicit listeners for any silly old Patreon stuff. We're just video game fans talking about the games that we love so much. But, I know some of you are very lucky listeners that have been blessed with many gold coins and would love to sponsor something. People that have asked, we always point our listeners over to our parent site, The Dragon's Den, and to its founder, Woodus. If you got money burning that hole in your digital wallet, if you'd like to support this podcast, instead just go over, support him, support the Den. You can either send Woodus some money there directly to keep the Den's lights on for another 20 years, or just click on that big old Amazon affiliate link, pre-order yourself a portable freezer for the garage, fill it with a bunch of stuff, and he'll get like maybe 10 cents or something like that. Mrs. Woodus will be very happy. You got to think, 20 years he's been running that site. Can you imagine all the jewelry and trips he could have taken her on? Oops, Mrs. Woodus, if you're listening, don't worry about it. You didn't hear that.
And if you have any jackpot suggestions for a future SideQuest episode, we'd be happy to hear from you. You can reach out to Plattym3 on Twitter or Discord, or the Dragon's Den. You can also contact me on the Dragon Quest Facebook group, Dragon Questers. We have a list full of ideas and would be happy to add some more.
Bye, everyone.
SideQuest complete.